to open the meeting at 7:30. Open Conservation Commission. Has anybody got any omissions or corrections to the minutes?
Nothing
This
over
time.
here.
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay, if not, can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Yes. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion has been made and carried. Administrative discussions. Eagle Scout, is there somebody here to?
Are you ready, or do you wanna? Okay, well, when he gets here, why don't you come in and we'll maybe try to squeeze you in. If we can table it for a bit.
Yeah. Okay, phase 2 for sidewalks, you got any, what's the story on that?
They
one?
have staked it, and it sounded like you guys wanna do a sidewalk out there, so
Okay.
we should set up a time before the 23rd. And I won't be going unless you go this week.
Okay, anybody got any discussion about that, whether we got time to do it?
Do you want to set it up by email or?
If you can do it tonight, it might be good to kinda get it nailed down,
Okay.
Let's see.
because a lot of time it seems it just floats away. There might be, let me think about this, site walks for, potentially 5 Scott. I'm assuming you don't need to go back to 44 Bruce. Yeah, I think those are the only other ones anyway, so.
Would Friday at any time work?
Yep, although I might be switching my short day to Wednesday but I'll be taking my daughter somewhere. So Friday later,
Go.
like,
I don't know.
Anytime.
do like
How's it going?
6 o'clock.
Going well. How about yourself?
Pretty good, thanks.
I could do
Home-
6 o'clock
home the
on Friday.
mailbox is okay.
6 on Friday.
Yes.
Friday at 6?
Friday at 6. Can we do a little earlier?
I could do 5:30.
5:30? I could take a little time off.
I'm sure, since I imagine Brian's gonna be there anyway, that he'd be more than happy to show you around earlier and then stick around for 6 o'clock if that's,
That works. I mean,
So that's
but 5:30 is okay, or?
oh yeah.
Okay, all right,
So K,
5:30.
phase 2, 5:30.
Okay. I don't care, 'cause I'm not
All
going.
right, contact information date, what update?
I think that sheet is floating around, so if you got any changes or updates on it.
Okay. Request for certificate of compliance for Bar Place 204-403. I have no clue, I don't remember the name on that one.
To tell you the truth, I now forget again where it is, but this was an old one, had been a new septic system. And it's all stabilized, no additional work has been done on it. And they're just looking to sell, so they're hoping to wrap up this last piece of paperwork.
I just doesn't ring a bell with me at all. Okay, do I need a motion to accept it and issue a certificate of compliance, or certificate of compliance?
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 4 Bar Place, 204-403.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Do you,
And by the way, just so you know for the next time, since I won't be here, I'm keeping all the things that may or may not need to be signed in here. So if you end up voting something, the paperwork's done, just sitting there waiting for, and Marilyn knows that, but she may need to remind. Oh, and if you're not gonna be here, someone else needs to be in charge of the switch.
Oh.
okay. Parcel U17-200 land donation. What's the story on that one?
Which one is that?
It's after the 4 Bar Place.
Okay, yes, there's 2 parcels now, I can't remember which is which. This is the one, on Long Lake.
Okay.
And I did ask town council, and town council recommends getting a survey of 2180 before taking it, because there was a potential issue.
Oh, 21E survey?
Well, if you're
Contamination.
dumping on the property.
Okay.
So, if you want me to look into costs for that, I could start down that road and see what it'd be. I assume it probably, these guys are all pretty busy, probably wouldn't happen for at least a few months, but I can start looking into the cost if
Okay.
I want
Just a
to.
very basic one.
So you think move ahead with that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think so.
Alright.
It's just debris, so I doubt that, I didn't see any containers or hazardous,
Yeah, but somebody.
Yeah, the 21E will probably be pretty straightforward. I think the survey might be a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let me see, where am I here? MAC membership handbook subscription.
I thought I had it in here, but I don't seem to be finding it. I was gonna redo everybody's membership. Does anybody want the handbook subscription renewed or get a new one for you? Does anybody use the handbook and want to be able to, because it's online only, so you need to get a subscription every year.
Oh, is it online only? I was
Yeah.
gonna say the paper one.
I know, I know, but this way they can also, first of all, charge you every year for it
Right.
and make updates.
What do they charge per subscription?
It's $15-20. It's not exorbitant. I mean, I've got a subscription, frankly, through Acton.
Can we
I
get
had
can we get
paper
one
ones.
subscription for the ConsCom that we can all just go to?
I don't think it works. It can work that way. Well, you'd have to log in with it's your personal email account or whatever email account you set up. So it gets difficult.
Mm.
They've worked it
Okay.
so that you can't do that, basically.
Of course. We can't buy one, an extra one that the town has that we can.
I mean, let me see. I was having trouble with mine, but I think I got it straightened out. Let me see if I can get onto mine and then make sure it's working. Then I'll see if you guys can get onto it.
Could we
Also.
buy? Yeah, maybe we could buy it under like the ConsCom at littletonma.org email, and then everybody else could.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
It makes sense to
All right.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, do we still have that email?
It still exists.
Yeah.
so-
Every now and then it.
Oh, good. Well, if it still
Pops
works,
up,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a good idea.
And if I can't do that, does everybody want a subscription or?
I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
I mean, I hardly ever looked at it last year, so I don't know if it's worth it for me. But if we had a group subscription.
Right.
Right,
That's
yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It'd almost be a waste for me. I wouldn't mind having it, but like
yeah.
I'm with you.
I think
probably
that I
don't.
use it and then I forget that I even have it, so,
But I might use a group one. I might just go on to that.
yeah.
I mean, there's not too many times you really have questions about, but you do some technicality stuff once in a while.
I usually go straight to the regs.
If you purchase it and use your email account, like you said, using that as the receiver of it, and you all have access to it, you haven't done anything wrong.
Mhm.
So why don't you purchase it under the
Yeah.
littleton.conservation.com.
Yeah. I'll check around with some of the other ConComs and see what they're doing because I know the ones I know it's all individual. The other towns, the group ones just didn't work out for some reason, but I'll double check.
Maybe you can't have two people on it at the same time, right? So maybe.
Yeah, but that's not gonna be a problem.
The chances of that.
I don't think they will.
Oh,
In which case,
Like
they're
your
not.
Netflix account.
It's not like a high demand item.
Yeah. Mondays around 5:30. You know what?
If I see one there at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, I'm really gonna have serious questions.
right.
What are they doing?
Apparel, what's that?
I didn't know if there was any interest in either Littleton Conservation Commission apparel, especially frankly for me, for when I go out on sites, or somebody else like the building department has, and then as a separate issue, maybe for the land stewards, something separate, which I think you should all get as well. Anyway.
Maybe something bright, and since we're by roadways often.
Yeah.
It's
don't want
not
to
a
scare
bad
the
idea.
animals, but.
Is there a catalog or something that you can?
There's a couple different, I mean, I've seen T-shirts as, cheaper than $1, and then the screening, the Mass Corps, the Massachusetts Corrections, is doing it, or has been doing it, but now they're really getting going. So building has it, rec department has a bunch, they use it for various things, planning did it for some of their master plan stuff. So I can look into it if you think it's
Great.
great. Yeah, all right.
Do we have a logo?
It would be the town seal.
Oh,
Sorry. Well, it doesn't have to be. It can be anything you want, probably.
It's a nice seal. It's
You
a
put
nice
something
seal.
on back, you can have a little competition. Go for it.
Just no leaf, no leaf.
What
No
about
locally.
the bylaw regulation review? Would you wanna,
If you have heart for it, we can skip back to the end and see how it.
okay. Cloverdale parking lot design, what's the story?
I did get I'm not sure I even brought it in with me, preliminary, proposal from Green for it, and I just didn't know if you wanted to move ahead slowly with that now, at this point, just gonna dive into it. Cause, Highway said they could put it on their schedule for next fall 2019, so we have a year to come up with a design and permitting, really drag out the process to make it more expensive.
Okay.
It seems as though we should at least book a spot with the highway and then see how,
Yeah, I've kind of done that, and I think at some point sit down with maybe Highway and Green and go back and forth about potentially designing in at least future accessibility so that what is built now won't preclude it, if we can get down that little bit of a hill. And I'm also just not sure how ADA plays into the whole thing, if you have to be 100% accessible, or if you just, on something like this, basically do the best you can, so kind of figure some of that initial stuff out first too.
So you mean a handicapped spot marked on the
Which
parking
is
area?
basically what is it at the Oak Hill parking lot.
Right.
So that, but you can't go anywhere. The trail's not even close to accessible.
Right.
But at least it is there, so it's not gonna be a barrier in the future.
Yeah.
If accessibility can be worked out, so, which is probably even more appropriate at Cloverdale,
Yeah.
because the boardwalk will be accessible.
Right. Okay.
All right, so I'll slowly move up with that one.
okay, request for an extension of Chestnut Lane subdivision road 204-649.
Why don't we push those off to 9:30ish when they will be in here on
Okay?
the other one.
I guess we can skip down to other updates.
Why don't can we skip back to the Eagle Scout project?
Oh,
Okay.
Here's the, I only have one
Come on
copy
up.
of it, here's the paperwork of
Why
it.
don't you come up and tell us what you got in mind?
So I was given the project by Mr. Finley. It would be a kiosk at the new Oak Hill entrance on Harvard Road in Littleton. It would basically just be a box that had information on trails, plants and animals, and other stuff like that that would be helpful to people using that parking lot. I was given a plan for the kiosk that was made by either the Conservation Commission or the Conservation Trust that basically set out all of the materials and costs and how they would want it built, so all the dimensions as well.
Is it gonna be two-sided, like oriented this way to the parking lot so you can see both sides, or is it?
I think it was just going to be one-sided. I haven't picked out a specific spot for it yet.
Okay.
Is this similar to the one that was done at the Cobb property on Neshoba Road? Did Rick tell you that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a very nice kiosk. Very
Yeah,
nice
this is the one
kiosk.
you actually approved the
Design?
design of it last month or so. So this will be the first installation of the official new design template.
Now, is it sunken with concrete
I think that was the plan, yes.
footings?
Cement it in, so somebody
Yeah.
can't walk off with it.
Where do you get your materials?
So Moore's Lumber is run by a scouting family, so they're usually good about donating funds or at least giving a % off to help with funds.
Okay.
And I could also get funding from the Rotary Club as well.
What are you
So
gonna build
it's
it
up to you to
primarily
go to
out of?
those.
What will you build it primarily out of, pressure treated lumber?
Yes.
6x6s, 4x4s?
Yeah, 6x6s, 4x4s. I think there are some 2x6s as well.
Give me a list, I got some stuff laying around, I could probably supply you.
I can give you that information.
Uh-oh.
You sweet thing.
Is there gonna be, have to do any wetlands permitting there?
It is in the buffer zone, but signs get basically a buy on this, it's more than 50 feet away, and it's gonna be in the already disturbed area of the parking lot, so.
So it'll be in where the fill for the parking lot was, or on the edge of it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And the initial discussions we had with Rick was kinda near where the accessible, the handicap parking is, near the trail entrance, either facing the road or facing the side. So it's probably gonna be one-sided because it'll be up, the other side will be against the woods,
Okay,
generally. So,
okay.
Have you been on site?
Yes, I have.
Does it have boxes for trail maps, or is it just gonna be a board type?
I'm not sure if the plan had that originally, but that's definitely something we could easily add on to it.
So they're gonna be watertight boxes?
Yes. And there's a roof on top to keep the rain off.
Asphalt.
But the places where the brochure is gonna be will be in a plastic.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And is it
'cause-
plexiglass on top of any paper, or is it just open to the air?
The plan is sort of a plexiglass case that has a lock and key, and then hinges on the side, so it can be opened by the commission, but not by anyone else.
yeah, so if you're amenable part of the $600 you voted last time, kind of towards the template in general, could be reduced by some of the contributions here, but then replaced with maybe buying 10 locks, so they all have the same key and can be stockpiled for future use,
Yeah.
rather than have 10 different kinds of locks
Yeah,
and 10
yeah.
different keys and.
It's a good idea.
At one point, there was some on the desk here. I don't know what's happened to them, because I got them.
Oh, really?
Yes, I went and got
For the
them.
kiosks?
Well, for gates and what have you,
Oh.
but I don't know whether they're.
I have a bunch of keys with
No
nothing
lock.
written on them, and they haven't been used in 3 years, so.
So do we post notices on this kiosk? Is that what we do?
Yeah, notices, an example trail map, certainly information about the funding, the original funding of Oak Hill, some of the history maybe.
Maybe the leash
So-
law.
Probably the
So-
same stuff as over on the main.
So is it someone has to maintain the notices because they have a date on them?
The land stewards
stewards.
typically do
Land
it.
stewards do.
And when will it be completed by?
Hopefully by the end of the summer, so by the end of August.
The other question I have, we're gonna post a name at that, what we call that parking lot or anything? As to, which should be included in the kiosk, I would think, up at the top or something.
Yeah.
as
What
to-
would say Oak Hill parking lot?
Hey, we never did anything for Ian Gunn.
I was thinking more of the Wall family, considering they gave the
Oh.
property.
Oh.
It's just food for thought, but it's something, if we're gonna include it, you should know about it, but that would be an issue, that's something.
I was wondering, naming convention, it starts getting interesting about whether or not to add a name or just.
Oak Hill parking lot.
Well, yeah, Oak Hill, definitely Oak Hill parking lot, and then maybe inside the kiosk, in the history or something, some of the other names of people, but, whatever. And I don't know if you remember the swing sign that is at Newtown Hill. There was a new one that LCT did last year.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
that's right. I remember that.
like a realtor
Rick
sign type thing. Eventually, something like that might be amenable on the road
Right.
before, or even more at the point down at the Reed Meadow parking lot that nobody knows exists.
But that is something
But
I
that's
think.
Probably a separate.
We could have a little plaque on the kiosk
Yeah.
saying land was donated.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great project.
So you're up against the clock in this, because you turn 18.
Yeah,
correct?
18 in September.
In September. Okay, well, that's good. You have deadline.
Yeah.
Deadlines are always good. Get it
Function
done.
quickly.
So that, basically, there's no advertising we have to do for this, so that.
Correct. Yeah. So, do you need a signature on here? I guess you just need a vote to
Yes.
approve and,
It should be the last page, I believe. There's the beneficiary approval.
I suppose that's me.
So we have to make a motion for several things.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the plan for kiosk at Oak Hill parking lot.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So it's under beneficiary that I sign this, right?
Yep.
Make sure I sign it the right way.
Well, good luck. You'll do a great job, you know.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
He will do a great job.
Thank you.
It's a vote of confidence.
Is it held together with bolts
Yes. Yeah.
or glued, or how do you?
Bolts.
Bolts.
Was it air conditioning?
I don't think so. You guys want to open a window?
Yeah, it's kind of.
You need
steamy.
a copy.
See if I can get it
I think
open.
you might
yeah,
agree
can
with
you
me.
stop by tomorrow so I can get a copy of this, or can you get me a copy of it, or
Let's see. I
of the
can.
signed version of it? If you take it with you, just get me a copy whenever
We
you
can
can.
scan,
Okay,
we can
I
scan in
can-
the
Oh, that's
signature copies
perfect,
and
that's
get it back
perfect,
to you.
that's perfect, yeah, so he can have.
It might be end of the week. I'm working in Dublin, New Hampshire for the week.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine, just so eventually you get it.
Okay.
And if you wanna leave it with me, I can scan it and get it back to them.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Taken care of. Possible,
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
thank you. Possible wetland.
It's a tricky one. I don't know.
Can I just show you one other thing real quick? This is
Thanks,
another,
guys.
potential donation of land. You can see the little yellow tiny, I think it's a 0.7 or 0.9 acre parcel. That's
there?
Yeah, that's Harwood Avenue, so this is kind of the south end of Long Lake. All the Browns are already conservation or town-owned
So
land.
it completes. the-
So it fills in a little bit of it, and there's nothing around it, so I don't think there's any issues with dumping or anything like that on it.
Okay.
So if you wanna move to accept,
I'll make a motion to, what's the address?
I don't know.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation of a
Parcel
point-
U 31-16-0.
Parcel U 31-16-0, 0.7 acres.
9.9 acres.
Oh, sorry, 0.9 acres, thank you. Off of Harwood Avenue.
Off of Howard or?
Second.
Harwood.
That must be, what's it, near the town forest or what?
Between Colonial Drive and Harwood Avenue.
It's where Harwood and Tattawan come together. Holly Park is right there, it's sort of on the other side of the road.
Oh, nice. I think there's actually town-owned land across the street as well.
Yes, that, all the Brown stuff is town-owned.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Town and conservation, it's a mishmash, but.
Yeah. Okay. Is, you made the motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, I guess we move on to 7:45 that I'm a little bit late for. Possible wetland violation 5 Scott Road. Somebody want to speak to that?
Well, let me show you, and Mr. Scott is here, obviously. This is what it looks like now, just so you know. Somebody left an anonymous email complaining about the work. And while that does look terrible, if, I don't know if you had a chance to see the aerial photographs, which are unfortunately.
What did it look like before? Was that an
Well, that's what,
existing road?
this is 2017.
Oh.
So, last summer, I guess, you basically had the dock in this kind of cove.
Yeah.
And right now, it's out here, which is what you're seeing in the picture.
The dock is now at the end of that right there, which is the same place it's been for the last 30 years. And again, it depends on whether they have the dam in over the other side, is how high the water is and up and down.
This is not gonna work as well as I thought it might.
Come spring, almost everything will be underwater for the most part, and then it goes back down again. The way it looks right there, the picture she showed is a good facsimile of the day she was there. I was up at the office and she said someone made it,
That picture down there.
some amoeba made a statement about, I think Jane did, about the filling in of it. So the dock is at the end of where that all is. The York Rake came in.
So right now, the dock is here. That old dock from 2017 was through here. So you can see,
It's a
it's really
floating
been
dock.
warped in
Mhm.
there.
So
in
it just floats, so I just
2010.
moved it out to the end of that area. So the York rate comes in and we have to pay for anything. In Madawanica, we get no money from the town for anything. Though they charge us 50% more for our frontage, we get no benefits from the town. So we have to pay to have our own York raking done, where a machine comes in, they reach down, they pull up the weeds and the muck and everything else, and they place it on the land.
The hydro rate.
Correct. So what I did was, all that stuff that they put on, I covered all that up over there, because now it's already growing back. It's already halfway turned back again. The other thing is, Barbara Chapin came out to see me 25 years ago when I built the house, and we had a horrendous rainstorm. And it washed out the backside of my retaining wall that holds the soil back from my house, which is on this side of it. So she said, look, when it happens, just fill it back in. So the unfortunate thing is, the way to get down there is through the back of it, on the back side of that retaining wall. This is a picture
That's
of,
2008.
I don't know if you can, this is the picture of the area going down after the rain the other day. Can you see that far? If you can, you're better than I. But basically what it does, it keeps washing down the hill. So Barbara said each time it washes down, just re-stabilize it. Now at the bottom of it, where it was washing down, instead of letting it go into the swamp, I built a berm, and I did it out of wood chips, and I made a terrific luge for the kids. It was unbelievable in the winter. Come down around and shoot back out there. It was great. Well, now the kids are grown up. So there was no silt whatsoever going into the wetlands. The other thing is that the last time one of these places were dredged, which I am not dredging, the York Break does the stuff, the entire lake turned brown for almost 2 years from the silt digging up. There's been no silt, no creation of anything back there whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, it is at a position now where nothing's going to, until it washes out, which it just did again. I didn't do anything because she said to me, when can I come out? I said the same day. She came out the exact same day. I wasn't hiding anything. I don't believe I was doing anything wrong. So the bottom of that is stabilized. It's not growing anymore. It's not leaking anywhere further. And that's why I figured, why would I not allow her out? But
I guess
want
could
to
you go over what the sequence of events, what exactly happened and what you did this time?
This time, what I did is I took the,
Well, there's almost two different issues. There's the slope issue, which I agree is something you just have to
I have to keep
try
fixing.
to come up with a permanent solution.
What I'd
But
like to
then,
do
but
is-
then there's the whole area out where to the dock, or
Right.
which is coming in, and this is from 2007. So even 10 years ago, you can see this is whatever it was, which I'm assuming was either fill or upland or something, but it's been there a long time.
So,
So I don't understand exactly, did you bring fill in and extend it using fill, or did you just, what did
I-
you do exactly?
when the hill washes out, I dump stuff at the top of it to grade out the fill, so I grade it back out again. It stays like that until I get a horrendous rain. A couple of times it has grown back so well that a regular rain doesn't affect it. But if it rains, the other day we got 2 inches in 2 hours, and that's what creates that stuff, the rivulets and everything else.
But I guess I don't understand, what do you mean you grade it?
I have a
a
skid
back
steer.
again? Do you mean you
I make
you
it-
push it out
No,
into the
I-
wetland,
it's-
or what do you
The rain
do?
washes it down.
The rain washes it down. So
I fill in the ruts
you fill in the ruts all
I
the way
don't-
to
I-
the end. You fill in the ruts.
to the base where the berm is, so it doesn't go into the wetlands. So through time, and again, it's been 25 years that I've been living there. I want to, again, I took all the muck that they dredged out and I covered up all the other stuff, so now the vegetation will grow back there.
Wait.
If I
Okay, so
bring
you
in-
got muck from the hydro raking,
Right.
and you put it in the ruts. Is that
No,
what
I
The
put it
muck from the
in that
hydro
point that
raking
goes out.
is, the most recent one anyway,
Yeah.
is out here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is almost too, so, you've got the slope issue,
Yeah.
and then you've got this sort of access issue. They're kind of, and I agree, like I said, the slope
Yeah.
is
So
what
I-
it is, you can't.
I
just-
maintain it so that now, the guy next to me, and again, he's been there much longer, a guy named Bree, used to own Stowe Sand and Gravel. He actually paved his hill. And again, that was 40 years ago or 50 years ago when we first bought the property. My parents bought the property in 67 or 8 or something like that. So that's, for all that length of time, that's how long we've been up on that road. And I get deer with the little, the fawns are back there. I got a bobcat that comes through all the time. I've seen more wildlife than I've ever seen back there. So I really don't feel that I've done anything adversely. And what I want to do is make it all grass so it doesn't keep washing. That's my issue.
But you want to make the access way grass?
I'd like to make it grass or something that would be more stable. I don't want to, if I can put processed gravel, which is, concrete, rocks and stuff like that, it'll bind it up pretty good. But if I don't do something, if I pitch it all to the left-hand side, it'll go to the left-hand side and it'll collect at the bottom. But if I grow something there, I think it has a better chance of withstanding. I could also, at the very top, which is not inside the wetlands, I can try and direct it to go in the back of my house and put a drain in there and run the drain all the ways around. But again, then I would be discharging it further down the hill, so it won't get a chance to filtrate.
So on either side of that, is it wetland on either side of that?
Yeah. Of the ag,
Access way,
yes, yeah.
There's-
leading out to
It's
the
right,
dock?
it's right at the total slope. Total slope of the peninsula that's just down.
And how do you use this? Would it be?
Access to the dock.
Again, now, if we get a real dry summer, when I was a kid, we used to walk back there with milk cartons on our feet for snowshoes. That's how far down the water gets sometimes. And again, because it's man-controlled on the other end. So at certain times of the year, I can't use it at all. I have no use, no access to the lake at all. But with that dock, I can now get my boat at the very, very end of it sometimes. So and again,
you filled in the ruts,
Yep.
and you filled in up gradient, and it washes down, and then you put a dock at the end. Is that what
But
the actions?
it doesn't look like the dock is always there, like this
I'll pull it back in and
April 2017, it's on the right-hand side in that.
it's right there, that shows the dock inside. The
So-
dock now is pushed out because it floats. It pushes out and goes at the end of that little.
So is the dock out at the end now because the water's low and you need to get further out?
Yeah.
And then when the water's high, you bring it in?
I bring it back in. In winter, I bring it back in. There's nice springs in that area where it closest. So in the winter, a lot of times it doesn't freeze. There'll be little round, where the warm water from the spring comes up and melts the ice and stuff. And to be honest with you, the otters come up and they come out of the bloody holes, and it's kind of cool to watch. So I have a little.
So it was hard to tell, especially from the picture there, the trapezoid that is that access road seems to be getting wider. And then there's, I think, some telephone pole or some sort of pier at the end of it.
The very end, stabilizer, yes.
That the dock is then attached to, I guess.
So, but this access way has, in some form or fashion, has always been there?
As long as I've
Since-
The aerial photos went back to 2003, and you'd see there was certainly something there
Yeah.
of what length or width.
I mean, I would think it's definitely a benefit to the wetland to have it stabilized, so.
So maybe we need to work on, have Peter submit some type of application, formal application
Yep.
for a project, and actually put a defined boundary on it, and whatever he uses to stabilize it, that's it.
Yeah,
And that's where
a plan.
a plan, and then you actually have something that's there
With dimensions.
with dimensions, and I'd be willing to, entertain something like that. At least then we know.
Hey, I got a question for you. How about, wood chips? Could I go down and actually create, because right now, the silt is going down there, and the more it goes down, then I'm gonna end up losing my berm to keep it inside. If I put wood chips all down there, made a berm out of wood chips, because they did, the ice house in Acton many years ago. Do you recall that by any chance? They dredged me, you know where the ice house is?
Mhm.
Yeah, the
Acton
dam,
Road.
the outhouse dam.
I
You talking about where the house has the
Yes.
dam?
Well, that side of it, they used to call it the ice house pond, because they used to cut ice out of it in the 1800s and stuff like that. They drained it, they dug it all out, and they stored it on Concord Road further up, and they let it sit for 2 or 3 years. They cut it with sand, and they redid all their ball fields. Did a beautiful job with it. But you also, if you mix it with, if you take like pine bark mulch, and you use that as a base, it eventually decomposes, but it holds a lot of I found that it holds any siltation from going through. I could put hay bales down there, I could do it, any of those things, but I think that would be the best thing, because it'd decompose, turn into loomish area, and then grow. And each year when they come in, because I pay that York rake to come in, when he comes, he puts on the land. I let it dry out, and then I spread it out, and that's what the end of that is all now, all black, and it smells to the high heavens. It smells like raw sewage.
Yeah, we want to check with them, the guys doing the York raking where they're dumping their stuff.
Well, they
Because that looks like it's largely in the wetland.
No, it
Off
was,
to the side and
well,
in
that's,
the wetland.
Well, yeah, they should be putting this stuff in a defined area. That's for sure. Because who the hell knows what's in that
Yeah.
seed bed?
one of the things that you go down far enough, the guy next door, he lost a tractor, and they ended up pulling it out, is peat moss. Far enough down, there's peat moss. When he dug one thing up, he took out a stump about this big and about that big around. I should have brought you a piece of it. So that used to be, I think the Army Corps of Engineers, my whole side of the lake, Littleton side for the most part, used to be a marsh, and used to be trees and everything else. But when they blocked it off over in Forge Village, and they let it come back, that's how our end of the lake became the lake, from what I understand.
I
Yeah.
don't know, how do you guys feel about wood chips? I'm hesitant about that because it adds nitrogen as it breaks down, and I'd
Yeah,
be.
but if you don't have nitrogen, stuff doesn't grow.
It's also temporary. Yeah.
But why
you
not-
Can't,
why
you
not-
can't have too many nitrates either.
Why not do your original idea and just add like a little bit of loam and seed it?
I think you're talking about two different areas. Your berm is at the base of your slope, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And then there's the access road,
And the
if
access
you
is-
will, which is kind of a separate.
Yeah, call it the access, but that is all covered up with the stuff that came out of the lake. That I showed you, that picture I showed you, all that muck is now
Carl can
on
pass
top
that
of that.
picture.
It's all, you can't see brown in that case right there. Well, of course, it's the time of the year. But it's all, I put the muck that they dug out, I spread it. So that, and be quite honest with you, in next year, it'll be green, because that stuff grows like wildfire. So
But all the dirt on the access road in that photograph, when I was out there, where did that come from? Did you bring that in?
that's because of the rain from the previous one. The one that's right there, yes.
Yeah, that looks like dirt that was brought in.
So that went not just past your slope, it went all the way out,
That is,
what I'm calling the access road.
well, some of that is some of the dirt that comes down, yes. But it made it so that I could take the stuff that he's putting out and cover it over again.
Right.
So I didn't, again, that there's no
So,
There's no silt crap or whatever, what
so
I
I
know
guess,
is not good.
has he gone too far with the access road and we need to have that pulled back? So there's a couple questions in my mind.
It looks farther than the old pictures.
So if we could go back, if we could somehow get a feeling of where it initially was, pull it back to that point, then actually have a road or an access way stabilized. And it still gives you access to put your dock out there. We're not saying not to use it as a
Well, here's what
access for your dock.
I've seen enough of the removal of stuff, and I've seen numerous things done around, and to be honest with you, to do anything there, to remove anything that's there, I think it'd do more detrimental than leaving it exactly the way it is with the muck. I keep calling it muck, I don't know what you wanna call it, but it's muck.
That's a good term.
Leave it there and don't touch it, because now, if, to be honest with you, if you want me to dig that, I'll dig that entire area out, right back to the shoreline, everything. And I'll have the waterfront I've been
There you
paying
go.
for 25 years. Oh, yeah, I'll dig it, I'll get a long reach excavator down there and I'll go to town. That would make me the most happy. But I think the way it is right now is the most stable you're ever gonna get.
And it's been existing like this for ever, right?
For,
Back to 2003, which as far as I went.
so here we are, and before that, I think I moved in there in 90. I went from the old house to that one in 90. Geez, when did I get married? I don't wanna think about that. Yeah, somewhere around 92 or 3 is when I moved there. And the retaining wall actually went in 87, so that all that stuff was there for that length of time.
I think the most important part is to go forward and just get this all stable
Yeah.
and not
I
increase
agree.
anything.
I
That's
agree. Get it stable,
perfectly
put
fine.
defined, I think we need to have some defined borders on it. And,
I think
I mean,
it's
I have no trouble with you, I mean, the hydro raking, that's all permitted, hydro raking. I don't mind you drying the stuff, I actually think that's a good idea, bringing that stuff up and drying it as
Yeah, it
as
would kill
opposed
off.
to, as opposed to dumping it someplace.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. So using that access way as a place to dry, but I would also like to have defined, so like, you know, the stuff isn't sloughing off into the wetland.
And
I
we
think-
know when it's getting bigger.
I think that's, and we know, so because it'll be beyond the defined boundaries. So that's the kind of the route I would like.
Did you wanna have a site walk on it, or
Can I?
let Peter take a stab at it first and then do a
I
site walk?
will,
or-
I'll take an engineer. How do you guys feel about Civil Solutions?
Yeah, we like them.
I very polite people. I'll have him go down. What,
Very
that's
simple.
The biggest
Well, I
priority.
didn't say civil, I said polite. I used a different word. I've got a vocabulary a little bigger than that, not much, but have him go down and map the size of what's there. So we have a definitive area.
Yeah,
And if you're okay with the wood chips, I'll wood chip that whole base of it. I'll put a berm around, probably 2 feet high around that whole edge and stabilize everything that's there.
When you say berm, do you mean,
What I don't want to happen is each time it rains like hell, that access road basically, it washes out.
it would be
So-
really helpful to have a plan, so I like your
that's what I'm-
idea of civil,
Yeah.
engineering
Coming up
firm.
with some plan
Coming up
for-
with a plan, so I can't really picture what you say you're gonna do
Okay.
until it's like.
I'll have it drawn.
Drawn.
I'll have,
With contours,
yeah,
hopefully.
we'll do all that.
and
And,
then do a site walk at that point when you have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be better.
But you see, I mean, you understand what we're trying to.
yeah, I do, I completely understand it. And I've been living there for 25 years, I don't really have any plans on leaving just yet. If the taxes keep going, I might get going, but, I would like to, first off, I'll have the Civil Solutions go in there immediately. I'll have that drawn out. I will start talking to guys about getting wood chips, if you guys really think that's,
What about-
I don't think we've agreed on that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about
Just-
stump grindings? Is that another option?
I don't care.
No, I'm just asking.
I would get the plan first.
Yeah.
And
Stump
then,
grindings can be very dirty though, too.
Oh.
Just propose something and then we can
Right.
respond to it.
Good. I can have it done in, This is
About a month?
Yeah, easily. I mean, if you tell me that you're okay with the, if I get Civil Solutions in there and he does the map, and and that's a given set of parameters, there's a set, 25 feet, 30 feet, whatever it is, and you say the wood chips are good, if you could have that discussion later, and you say, Peter, you can put the wood chips there, I will stay with inside the barriers of Civil Solutions first, so you know when I'm done, that's what I've done, and stabilize it as fast as I possibly can. And it's pretty stable now, to be honest with you. If I leave it long enough, it's gonna turn to loam and grass and such regardless, but I
Well,
would
just
like
so
to
you
do
know,
that.
that the wood chips are usually an erosion, like a temporary erosion control that
Mhm.
we've seen, but it's not a permanent solution, so it
Well,
would be
that's-
better to head toward what you ultimately want that.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the
okay.
reason for the berm.
I do like the grass idea, cause it's not a hardscape.
Right,
Um,
and it won't slough off.
yeah, well, my biggest concern is the
Well, maybe
the
some netting.
edges of this thing.
Yeah.
How can you support that?
Yeah, maybe the engineering firm could propose
That's-
some.
What was the last thing you said, I'm sorry?
So just something to support the edges of it, you
Yes,
know?
yep.
So I think that's something that Civil Solutions might be able to
Okay,
give you some advice on.
Good.
How to do that, and then keep the top natural with the grass. I do like the grass idea.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
good.
And I like the idea of bringing up the place to dry off. That's a great idea.
The whole idea behind that stuff is what, from my understanding, I think Jimmy Fenton, I believe, did all that work over at the Ice House. It says, one thing, you gotta get it dry, and two, you gotta cut it with sand because it's so rich. You had to cut it with sand, but they did virtually every ball field in Acton with the stuff.
So after you dry it, you would take it off there, right? Is that I think that would be what we'd be looking for a plan, is use
Well,
it for drying and then,
I would say the smartest thing to do, well, I mean,
because then you,
is you take it out, it's dried out, it's on stable area, and they just flatten it out and it turns to grass. And
then the problem is it keeps getting higher.
Mhm. But I'm not going any
Building up.
wider because Civil Solutions told me how much I can't go.
But at some point, it's gonna get higher and it's gonna start sloughing
Oh,
off.
all right, now I see what there's not that, I mean, you and I will be long gone before that happens.
I mean, there's a lot of water in that stuff that you're pulling out.
Yes, it smells bad.
Well, why don't
So are you looking for a notice of intent?
I think that's the direction I'm heading.
Notice of intent and a plan, yeah.
I don't know if I'd
Okay.
require.
Do you wanna come back on the 23rd as a more, because you're not gonna be able to file in time because that date is passed. So the next notice hearing would be August 13th, I think.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Or you could continue this as an informal discussion while the notice of intent, but no decision's gonna be made.
Correct.
I don't know how you
So
feel.
I don't know what.
Or you could continue discussions under an enforcement order just to get things lined up.
which is gonna work the best?
I mean, if you start planning, and then use the next meeting to sort of sketch out what the initial plan
The issue
is.
I see is that we don't know what this weather's gonna do, and probably the sooner an enforcement order would let this get started. Might be better than letting it hang out there until end of August or something.
Yeah, so the meeting on the 23rd, oh, well, the filing deadline's tomorrow for notice of intent. And then the meeting on August 13th, the filing deadline would be basically August 1st.
So an
But, and
enforcement,
it's gonna take Civil Solutions or whoever a while to come up with a plan anyway, I would imagine.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that leaves me, you're gonna have to tell me later and.
So directed to file a notice of intent, not do any work out there,
Yep, stop
Yes.
work.
unless there's like an imminent collapse of the main slope or something like that.
Yep,
That sound,
yep,
Yeah.
sounds good.
What about him moving his dock? Would you have a need to move your dock? Right now it's at the end. Would you have any need to be moving that
I don't know what you
closer?
mean.
Like right, you moved the dock
So
right now you're at the end,
Yeah.
but then you bring it into the little cove area, right? Would you be
For the
doing that
winter.
before the end of the summer? No?
Well,
So,
if the
for balance
weather-
of the summer, you're out at the end?
Because, here's what ends up happening. If it stays dry and the water drops, that dock will be sitting on top of land. If they don't close the gate and raise the water enough, that dock stays out there throughout the winter.
Oh,
I usually pull it in to that, where you saw one of the pictures, I pull it in, and because of the springs and everything else in there, the dock doesn't get wrecked or anything
I
else like
getcha.
that. So that's the reason for me to get access to now again, the New York Break came in and he dug along the right-hand side, he pulled out the stuff, so now I can get here and there, but again, it's something you gotta be careful of. I can't afford to have a boat get wrecked because, in that instance. So with that being said, I guess, and though I've been doing this, some form of this work for my whole life, the notice of intent or the enforcement order, I don't understand any of those things, because what I really understand is I'll tell you, I will go in and I'll have Civil Solutions as fast as he can, and they're pretty good to me. Draw out the exact size of it. I will get wood chips in there, or if you tell me to hay bale the bloody thing immediately, I'll have the thing looking beautiful before your next meeting. It'll be done. I won't screw around. I don't want to do any, I want it done. I don't want to be.
I don't think,
We don't,
yeah.
we
I
wanna
mean,
see a plan first and.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if you guys
Yeah,
think that's a good plan,
Yeah, we want to take it in a sequence and do it right, so we have you permitted, and that way we know what's there, you know what's there, and everybody's on the same page.
okay.
I think that's the smartest way to do it, as opposed to rushing it through. I think we're all heading in the same place.
Okay.
It's just,
Yeah, because technically, if you're to make that wider or longer, you'd have to come in front of us and with a plan and
Right.
tell us that you're gonna do that.
So I can do that?
Well, no, you have to have a plan.
I'm just
No, you
asking.
can't.
I'm just asking, you know what I mean? Right? You know what
Notice
the
of
answer if you don't
intent.
ask is? No.
Yeah, you have to file a notice of intent and
Okay, I'll
give
come and
us a
see you
plan.
and figure out what I
Do you wanna come in tomorrow, or what? I got an 8:30 sidewalk tomorrow morning.
Do you have my phone number floating around somehow? When you get done with all that, give me a ring.
Yeah.
Huh? Maren does, yeah.
No, I'll get back to you.
But in the meantime, if we have a catastrophe, large rains, what will be allowed to be stabilized? Or to try and stabilize, that's seen too much stuff move this last couple months or so. You
Well-
get 2 inches of rain and
If you do have a lot of wood chips, how would the commission feel about it if you stabilized it with wood chips if there's a big rain? Between now
Wait,
and,
it's horses out of the
You got-
barn.
Yeah.
what is he stabilizing?
The
The dirt.
washes down.
But then it's gonna wash into the wetland.
Well, see, that's, right now,
That's what
again,
we're trying
I've
to
had
avoid.
that berm. The last time it washed down, it sat in the middle, no silt went into the wetlands, which I know that's what you don't want, correct?
Yeah.
So now I got at least one good storm left before something goes wrong down there, okay?
all right,
So
so
if
leave
you-
it
if you-
alone.
Huh?
I guess leave it alone.
Again, if you get one, if it rains like hell, then
And
I just,
the only
you
other
know-
thing to do is put wattles along the entire perimeter of the access road. So the runoff's not going over the shoulder, so that's a lot of wattles.
let me put the wood chips down and you'll be happy, I promise.
Oh,
But we don't want anything, I mean, wood chips are, not much different than sediment. It's
well,
like
just
washing
it
it off.
decomposes and
But it
turns
will
to
wash
lint.
off.
it becomes fill. So,
But I mean, in preventing
A foot of
rain.
wood chips turns into about that much loam. That's about all it's
Have this
all.
discussion next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you decide.
All right, we gotta move on.
Yeah, I understand.
You get going with Civil Solutions and.
Okay, I'll stop, and you give me a ring, we'll see where we go from
Yeah.
there. Thank you, appreciate your time.
Okay.
Okay, discussion, project changes, Nagog Hill Road Improvement Project, Mass DEP 204-770. Want to come up and be in the hot seat?
Sure.
Aye.
So I'm sure most of you recognize Tom Bigelow from Green International,
Mhm.
and this is Mary Trudeau. She's working for representing the contractor on the Nagog Hill Road project. The contractor is E.H. Perkins, and we had gotten a order of conditions from the Conservation Commission back in June 2016 for the project. It was constructed over the last year or so, started in last summer, and they've substantially completed the project as of this spring, late summer. The contractor requested a slight change to the plans, which we felt was best run by the Conservation Commission before approving it. They loam and seeded most of the shoulders, but they left some of them just as kind of a aggregate. I commonly refer to the material as aggregate shoulders in some locations, mostly in the first 1,000 feet between the Acton town line and where the pull-off used to be, closer to Nagog Pond. And since we had the order of conditions in place, like I said, we felt it was best to come in front of you folks in order to have that change approved. We are fine with either solution. I've coordinated with the town DPW. We're fine with either solution. It's really the contractor that's requesting the change. So we just wanted to bring that to the Conservation Commission's attention, so that way when we go for the certificate of compliance, we don't have any issues with that with the Conservation Commission.
And Concord Water is okay with the change. I touched base, or you touched base with them too, so.
So do we just have to decide whether or not it's like a field change or a formal?
Yeah, and I hear it
Yes.
was a sensitive enough area that you'd probably want to hear about it before, frankly, I said it's a field change, so.
It's probably the two most sensitive areas on the project
Yeah.
that we're talking about. They're between Fort Pond Road and the next 1,000 feet. Mostly on the right-hand side of the shoulder as you come from Fort Pond, but one small section is on the left where the water actually approaches the toe of the roadway.
Okay.
I was out probably two and a half weeks ago. We had quite a bit of rain one morning, and the site was stabilized, so we don't really see an issue.
I guess I'm not understanding exactly. You're talking about using crushed stone or something?
No, it's like I call it a densely graded material, and it's more like heavy, like a stone dust, but not with the dust function. It's just very densely graded material. Right at the shoulder of the road, beneath the guardrails, they put down more like grindings, which is sort of like as asphalt that's been pulverized to a very small dimension, and that tends to sit and almost harden in the heat. And then on below the guardrail to where we needed to stabilize the slope, last fall we placed a densely graded material because we didn't have time to get a lumen seed established on that slope, and then we had concerns about whether we actually would be able to do a lumen seed shoulder on the right side of the road due to shade conditions. One of the things we found on this roadway is that areas that were loomed and seeded last fall were driven on frequently, and I think some of that is that the road is relatively narrow, and that when cars are in a position to pass each other in the opposite direction, they pull off the road and drive on the shoulder. Like, we've reseeded a couple of the areas multiple times, and there are still ruts when you go out there. So one of the contractor's arguments for leaving the densely graded material on the slope is that it's a little firmer if cars drive onto it, that it isn't damaging the substrate, and it remains stable if a car would pull off and use the area.
It's a good idea. I see people do that all the time.
It's kind of crazy on that road. You wouldn't think it was that trafficked, but apparently
Yeah,
it
people do it.
is.
And where they do that, you're finding the same situations he's describing, where it's just weirdos.
Yeah, it would definitely benefit from a much firmer material
I like
over
that
there.
idea.
Yeah, I mean, in those two areas, I think because of the sensitivity, it's worth considering. We were able to establish lumen seed on much of the remainder of the site, and it grew well, and when we had to reseed it, the reseeding also germinated and has become substantive. But these two areas, I think would be better served with a firmer, more stable solution.
So you're saying that
This
alternate-
is a typical picture, right?
Yeah.
From your report.
From where the guardrail
It's
Yeah.
a very small
Yeah.
amount of area if you did the square footage. You know, it's long in terms of length. It's about 1,000 feet with several sections, but
So it would be
width
part
is
of the
very narrow.
shoulder, it would end up being part of the shoulder up to the guardrail then, is that,
It's
that's
even a
the
little
part you're
below the
talking?
guard, yeah. It's a
Right.
little below the guardrail too, because in some areas we disturbed a little bit of the shoulder when we were doing the roadway reconstruction. So we're responsible for stabilizing anything that was disturbed. So it's not only the shoulder, which is the flatter part, but it's the drop down. And in some areas it's as little as a foot or two, in other areas it may be 8 to 10 feet below the surface of the road. It really depends what work we were doing in that area. Was drainage disturbed? Was there an outfall constructed?
I guess I have two questions. One is, you said it wasn't dusty. I would imagine if it's dense, there'd still be fine material drifting. Do you know how much, like proportions of how much fines it has?
I don't have like a sieve analysis of the product. I believe we have a site visit scheduled for Wednesday, and we can go out and look at it and see how it's held up.
Okay.
And that might be a better way of
There's a site
describing it.
visit tentatively scheduled in case you wanted to go see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, I didn't sign you up for anything.
So if you want to go see it, we can go out and look at it, but it's hard to describe. I mean, stone dust is a landscaping product that does have a fine that sort of blows off, and this is denser than that. That's the only word I can think to use.
It's still pervious, but it's denser.
more pervious than pavement, but it's
But it also does run off.
it does let water run off it too.
And to be clear, the picture with the guardrail on it, that's the pavement millings. That's only, so that material between the roadway and the guardrail is only placed where we have guardrail. It's a slightly less fine
There might be
material.
better pictures.
Right, further in where you don't have guardrail, there's really two different materials that we're talking about. And really what they've done by the guardrails is per the plan and per standard engineering practice. So it's really the areas where we don't have guardrail that are really more.
Like, I would be interested, at least the more sensitive areas, to have it more pervious than not.
Yeah, but you gotta have it stable.
The existing
understand.
condition is leaf litter, and there's very little root mat and growth because of the shade, particularly on the right side of the road. You know, if you have your back to Fort Pond Road and you look up, which is very hard to replicate. You know, if we could dump leaf litter, but we've disturbed the substrate when we did the roadway work. I mean, ultimately, I think that is what you will see as you drive by, is that leaf litter will eventually begin to accumulate and compost over the surface of this product.
Do you think having it more a larger, like a gravel, would be better for at least the areas close to the sensitive areas?
I think it's overkill that it's a very small, because we now have curbing and drainage in the roadway, the runoff patterns have changed, and areas that used to get a tremendous amount of wash off the shoulder of the road no longer do, because the water is contained in the road and handled by the structures that we've installed. On the left side of the road, there had been a problem this winter where one of the, I'm gonna call it a paved waterway, but it was more like a stone slope, was not quite long enough, and so the water was bypassing it and did cut into that slope. So when the spring came around and we saw the damage, we extended the stone, and we do not have that problem anymore. The watershed has just changed. I think that you
I
will
don't want to
see.
extend any type of material that would even act like a impervious surface.
I think that you will see vegetation begin to come through. You know, I don't think that the area supports a largely vegetated herbaceous community because of the shade that's overhead, and there really wasn't much shrub. There might have been a little low bush blueberry or sarsaparilla, something on that order, but it was very sparse. That it's basically leaf litter in those areas now. I don't think you're creating a surface like concrete or bituminous, but is it as permeable as leaf litter? No. A sod lawn would be more comparison, you know, with the tightly woven roots, but we would never be able to establish sod in that area because of the shade, and just we don't water it, we don't fertilize it.
What do you want to do, folks? Do you want to approve, or do you want
What's
to
this,
accept?
well, another thing is, how big is this area? I still don't have a sense of the size of the project.
The entire project was just over 7,000 feet, so this is just the first 1,000 feet or so.
But I mean, 1,000 feet, but the edge of that 1,000 feet, right?
Yeah,
So
and
it's
it's
how
Right,
much?
so it could
all
vary.
over 1,000 feet.
On average, maybe 3 feet wide, on average.
3 feet wide and
Right.
1,000 feet long.
Right.
I would say 2,500 square feet, because then, because in
Is
areas
it the
where.
whole 1,000 feet? Cause
No, it's not.
it's small.
It's just the low,
They say like 2 locations.
it's 2 locations, maybe of a couple hundred
This is Concord Water
linear
Supplies.
feet each.
A couple hundred what?
Linear feet, you know, because on areas where the road rises or the shoulder gets higher, either we were able to establish with Bloom and Seed a vegetated community, or we didn't disturb it because the road work was lower
Right.
than the slope.
And if you wanted a more accurate area, I could certainly look at that tomorrow and provide that to Amy as far as what we estimate that area to be.
This
And
sounds
that might be a
like-
handy thing to even have a sketch of that in the files.
So I mean, I'm in favor of the firmer material. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Well, the Concord says that they want the sandy sediments to be removed and not spread.
That's on the left-hand side of the road, probably at about station one, I don't know, what is it at?
I haven't seen that letter in particular. I was
She-
unaware of
That
that.
was an old
Yeah,
email.
I believe is
Oldish
that
email.
they must be talking about some sediment that's got caught by the erosion controls.
Yes, and it was when
Right,
we
so
take
that
out
would
the
be-
erosion
Mhm.
controls, I had given the alternative of raking out the sediment or removing it, and they're saying they would like it removed.
Mhm.
So, that's acceptable to the contractor. Is that the report that has the snake picture?
Mhm.
Is this where the snake was, is the sediment?
Oh, I didn't see the snake.
Oh, I hate snakes, I was like completely repulsed, but I gave him a picture.
Kyle, what's your feelings on it?
I don't have a problem with it.
Rachel?
No, I think it's fine.
Just took up with small areas, you know.
Yeah, from what I read there, it is like 100, is it 120 by 100? If I read it correctly, 100 feet?
But that's not the
Square.
only, yeah,
It's
but
two
that's
areas.
not the only, that's just what the water department's talking about. You got other, if she said.
No, that
1,000
was
feet.
the entirety of the change, right, was. the
Yeah,
area.
it's all in
Yeah.
that separate, that area.
So it's not 3 feet, 1,000 feet long, it's
No.
No.
2 areas,
Couple
100 square
hundred.
feet.
Well, one, on the right-hand side of the road, there are 2 areas, and the left-hand side of the road matches the first area on the right, it's just on the other side. I mean, several hundred linear feet of road by the 3 to 6 feet of depth, and it's an undulating line, it's not like a straight shoulder. It was wherever there was disturbance, they placed that material just to seal the sediment in place for the winter. You know, some of it has leaves on it now, some of it is pretty easy to spot.
So basically, what you're trying to do is just clean up the job and get this signed off. That's where we're at.
Mhm.
Most of the road work has been done.
The road work is, yes, substantially complete. There's some punch list items that we're working with the contractor on, but for the most part, it's substantially complete.
Well, what time on Wednesday was there gonna be a sidewalk? Do people
We
want a
just kind
sidewalk?
of put a bookmark in case somebody wanted to see it, and between my schedule, I think your schedule. we were
The
trying to-
Wednesday worked.
So it's,
I'm pretty open.
Would anybody else? Oh, I don't think I can actually. Take my daughters.
And they kind of want to get this closed out.
Okay. All right.
To be truthful, to change the detail at this point and go back to the lumen seed would be far more disturbance than to leave the product in place. Because we would have to remove it all.
Oh, you mean it's already there?
It's there, it's
Yeah.
been there since last fall.
Oh, I didn't understand
It-
that.
it was-
I
They
thought
put it
was
down
new-
in the late fall in order to get the site
Stabilize.
stabilized for the winter.
For the winter.
because
And
they
then
won't
you
be
just
able to
want
get
it, so you're
compressed
coming in
about
front of
that.
us just to leave it?
Just leave it.
Oh.
Leave it in place.
Yeah.
All right. Not to add it.
But just the plans showed something, the loam and seed in those
So
locations.
it's already done, okay.
So it kind of, we need a motion just to leave as,
approve it as a field change, if
Yeah.
that's
So moved.
what you feel is.
you want to make the motion?
Oh, sure. So I'll make a motion to approve the aforementioned changes as a field change.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Done.
So you can just get me, like, even just a sketch or something of
Of
where
the
this
areas.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, great.
And I'll talk to Perkins about taking out the silt fence and shoveling out the sand from the first location.
Yes. Yep. As long, Amy, you're okay with the erosion controls being removed at this point?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, perfect.
Can I have these back?
Thank you.
Great,
Have a good night.
Okay, continued public hearing, notice of intent, 151 Taylor Street, R1014, Mass DEP file number 204-868 for demolition of an existing facility and faculty and construction of a new shipping faculty parking and loading area, subsurface infiltration system, rain garden, and fire. Somebody want to speak to that?
How you guys doing? Is there any place you prefer me to set this up?
Just lay it on the table.
All right.
But not on top of the speaker. You like the new speakers?
I do like
They're
them.
great.
Or the new microphones, excuse me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't even see them,
I
did you?
saw it, but it didn't register that, oh my gosh. Yeah, I like it better than those things.
All right, for the record, my name is Brian Nelson with Metro West Engineering. My boss, Rob Gemma, was here at the first meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago. We had received a initial comment letter from Green International on June 20th. We had made some revisions to the hydrology study, stormwater report, and the plans, and reissued those with the June 28th revision date, and we got a letter back from Green on July 2nd. And just looking at this board, just to orient you to the site, this is 151 Taylor Street. Taylor Street's located on the east side, and north is basically coming at me. There's an access drive that comes in, it's kind of serpentine, comes off the site. And then Monarch Drive is another private driveway, and that runs parallel to Route 495, which is located here. We had previously talked about the removal of the existing building and then construction of a new warehouse building basically in the center of the property, close to Taylor Street. One of the comments, I think probably the biggest comment from the site walk, was there was a rain garden proposed on the westerly side of the building, northwesterly side, and then the tree removal that would be associated with that. So basically what we've done is change that to an infiltration system, a subsurface system, and pull the limit of work back on the westerly side and the northerly edge here, and that saves about 50 or so trees on this westerly side. I think 18 of those, if I remember correctly, are in the buffer zone. And then also we're able to tighten up the limit of work on the northerly edge here and slightly over here. made some grading adjustments to, there's a fire access drive that comes in along the southerly side off of Monarch Drive and runs in this direction, basically around to the southwest side of the building. Made some adjustments to the grading on the slope here to soften that up a little bit. And this is all constructed of porous pavement, so we made some modifications to the detail for the plan as well. The driveway's got a bit of a pitch coming downhill in this direction, so we basically put some water stops along that at roughly 75-foot intervals. Those are really the kind of the major revisions, if you will. I'm happy to go through some of the finer points. You know, we adjusted some of the hydrology calculations, adjusted some of the stormwater pollution prevention plan language and structure. But I think, you know, really the adjustments to the limits of work while still keeping the recharge. You know, the recharge rates, pre-development to post-development, there's still pretty significant reduction in rates and volumes, so there's still a pretty big benefit there. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on the revisions.
Are the I heard the infiltration areas hold slightly less water than the rain garden did. So you're still satisfied that the infiltration basins, which are 10-year storm, right? 10-year storm infiltration basins?
Yes, actually they'll hold even more than that. They're still looking at basically the going off-site to the west from the comparison of pre-development to post-development. In the post-development condition, there's roughly a 50% reduction. So this may be a little smaller in footprint, but it's still more than adequate for providing the runoff storage and recharge.
Okay. And both, could you show us just where the overflow for both of them are?
Sure.
Where they end up?
The overflow for the westerly system actually comes right up here, so this is off the northwesterly side of the building. There's basically a plunge pool and a riprap outlet here.
Can you see it, Carl?
I can slide this over a little bit if you like.
Okay, I can stand up, I can see it from this angle, but I'm gonna stand up in a minute,
Okay.
just because I wanna see where the edge is.
The northerly infiltration system outlets to a manifold, which is located right here.
What do you mean, a manifold? What is that?
It's a long perforated pipe, basically, that's set in a bed of stone, so
Okay.
it'll disperse the outflow of the runoff. And just to give you some context, the bold red line is the 50-foot no disturb line, so it gives you perspective for how far, inside that 50-foot line it is. So we're close to it here, but we've got some separation for it between this one and this one as well.
And that 100-foot buffer is what was already disturbed, correct? Like the existing parking lot?
I believe so, yeah.
How far are you from Beaverbrook? You know, there's a piece of property in between that and Beaverbrook.
Quite a ways. Do you know that one offhand, Kevin?
Which one?
How far from Beaverbrook?
It's way across the property.
It's hundreds of feet, right?
It's about 1,000 feet or more.
Yeah. Because the property goes basically quite a ways. Can you grab on the site plans? There should be an overall site plan that we can take a look at.
Is there any modification to that, the area around that other wetland, small one up there?
This one, I don't believe so. Like I said, the grading changed along the driveway, but nothing, over on this side.
Is there another building between you and Beaverbrook? Or is that all just open land?
I think it's all open land.
I think that's what was the Leslie College land.
Yeah.
What is the change in impervious surface again, between this building and the building and parking lot together versus what it used to be? You know?
That one I can check real quick. Do you know that one offhand too?
That's on my head right now.
Okay. Yeah, I can check that one for you.
I think there's so much distance between Beaverbrook.
Yeah, there's.
It's also, there's an aquifer, and it's underneath that too.
I'm just wondering with reduction
I
over
don't
there,
think you have to
plus.
I don't think you have to worry about any of it. It's like a distance, it's all gravel.
No, I know, but we still have to be concerned with impervious surface the effect on the wetland right around the property.
And there's a certified rural pool right in there too.
And the pool.
Those are all quite a bit away, certainly.
I know Julie had a concern with the distance from the vernal pool, from the work.
And especially the rain garden tree removal.
Yeah, so.
Right.
So where, the tree removal area, the former rain garden.
Right there, yeah.
It was right in over here,
It was right in over there.
which they
And
had.
you've moved it, everything to the edge of the, so everything now has been moved to the edge of
Edge of work,
developed,
really.
edge of wooded area?
Yes, it's
So
been
not in,
moved.
so you're not in the forested area at all now?
I think slightly, but not certainly as much.
Yeah, I think the,
Like
the
this-
fire truck
this
turnaround is still in.
right here.
yeah.
There were some nice big trees in this
They,
area.
they did
This
do
is
a
the-
tree survey.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the original submittal, so you can see, basically the grading for the rain garden comes out, it's coming out into here, so this has been pulled back,
So
probably
that's a
50 or 60
significant
feet.
change, then, yeah.
So there's about a 54,000 square foot increase in impervious area, so that's building surface and paved surfaces in the post-development condition. So-
Okay.
So how many trees come down now? So you had, because we had asked for that.
Yeah. That's in this letter. I know, like I said, there were, I think, I want to say there were, so 52 were saved, 18 are in the buffer zone. That's the beginning.
And there are mature trees up on the other side too.
For the septic.
This side.
Yeah, over
Yeah.
there. Excuse me.
And probably here too.
Yeah, there's some
Some
over
there,
here,
remember
and there were
that.
some over here as a limit of work pulled back in
Right.
here, yeah.
Arrow signs, yeah. Still moving some trees, but. Rain gardens, 520.
Yeah, it's 52 trees. I don't know the total number to be removed. Yeah, that's.
Hazard a guess and see.
Yeah, we can provide that number.
50 trees removed.
The vernal pool is right here, is that right? Is that where this
That's
is
correct,
side?
yeah, it's right there.
So that's the importance of this wooded area to that
Mhm.
directly, yeah, that's.
Yep, that's good.
You're looking for the number of trees that will be removed?
Yeah.
76.
76? Okay.
That's what the letter says. Assuming there's not.
Is that with it, after the revised plan?
Yeah, with the revision to the rain garden and everything else, that's what the letter says.
It's probably all in that septic field area.
Yeah, I know that
There's
area
three
is
areas that
fairly
are
well
movable.
wooded.
This
Right up
plan
here.
has it.
This one, yeah.
Some has a few over there.
Some has to do with this.
Yeah, so we've got some over by the septic, yeah. And then some up in here, and then some, yeah, down by
Where-
this.
Where's the current septic?
Septic is located parking lot.
It's up in this area.
Yep.
And that's now gonna be part of a building?
No, it's gonna be over here.
Yeah, but why are you moving, why does the septic have to be moved?
I think
Well,
some of
that's
the.
where the proposed infiltration system is
Yeah,
right now.
we need to keep a 50-foot offset off of these two systems to be stormwater management compliant.
Which wasn't there before.
Well, so I don't think they'd like to put it in the same place as the old one, right?
No, but it's
It's gonna be
originally.
less, it's gonna be used less because it's not gonna be an office building anymore. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
the
a-
system gets a lot smaller in
So
footprint.
less number of people working.
There's a little bit of a
there.
grade change over here too, there's about a 2 to 3 foot fill.
Okay.
But there
Any other
is there a reason why you can't use the existing septic? Or
The
is that-
existing septic, I think, predates the most current version of Title V, so I think it's just, it was constructed prior to 95, so it may or may not be compliant, but I think it's just, the owner is basically revamping the entire property. It would be, and I believe this will be a smaller field with, there'll be a fast treatment unit too, so it'll be a much more environmentally friendly system too. The fast unit will provide a secondary treatment, so the wastewater discharged up to the field will be much cleaner. So I think technologically, it's a more advanced system.
Okay. Make a motion to issue order of conditions.
Can I say two things? One is that you need to issue a waiver, vote to issue a waiver because of the restoration piece that's within the 50-foot.
Yeah, so is that piece right in here?
And Green recommended 2 conditions, which I assume you've seen or fine with.
That's correct, yeah, and so we're fine with the conditions.
One
for
basically
soil
has to
testing.
do with test pits to apply to confirm infiltration rates. And there's endless language, but.
Yeah.
I would just at least mention that those conditions be added.
Okay.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
All right.
So that existing building is gonna be torn down, correct?
That's correct.
Is there any more questions?
My only concern is what are you gonna do, how are you gonna protect the wetlands from the debris?
Well, they have their erosion control
Yep.
line.
There'll
Do
be
you
an
mean-
erosion control
do you mean
barrier.
for this part, this excavation?
No, I'm talking about you tearing down an existing building.
Oh.
I
Well,
don't have a problem with them tearing it down, but is it precautionary steps been taken to,
Oh, yeah, do you have, is this what?
Yeah, it's in this.
Okay,
it's
it
in-
was
it's
in
in-
there, yeah.
There's an erosion control and a demolition plan in the plan set as well.
okay.
is there asbestos known to be on the property? You had
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm assuming
Something of the age of the
that it would
building.
be one of the mandatory things to be looked at before they even start the demo.
Yeah.
95%, you'll be using too much of it.
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be on, that was beyond
The
that.
ceiling tiles still.
Or the floor
You never
tiles,
know.
possibly, yeah.
Well,
Go ahead,
I guess I'll
make
make
the
my motion to issue an order of conditions.
Wait, can you do the waiver first?
How do I've never,
I would just move to issue a waiver for the restoration work.
so 2 motions, one to issue a
I think
waiver?
we haven't really, but it's been a while since we've had
I
to
know.
issue. But yeah, I would get the waiver done first, cause then you gotta do, you can't do the waiver after you issue the order of conditions, you gotta do the waiver before you, so I'd make it 2 motions.
I thought I was gonna put it together like order of issue, order of conditions
Mhm.
with a waiver.
Yeah, either way.
Okay. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions, including a waiver for, the removal of material and restoration of an area within the 50-foot buffer. And also the addition of two conditions?
Yep.
At least 2 conditions, included in Green International's letter.
Yep.
Dated what?
July 2nd.
July 2nd, 2018.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now do you have to do another one?
No, I
She
folded
wrapped it
it
into one.
together.
Thank you very much.
Oh, man, I got all sorts of things for you to file.
Oh, good.
So I hope to get this tomorrow. Do you want me to send it to somebody, or does somebody want to pick it up?
You can-
I'm going on vacation, man, I don't want paperwork sent around.
You can send it to our office if you like. Whichever's easier, we can pick
We're
it
gonna
up.
have, we'll record it.
Oh, yeah, if
Okay.
you're recorded, I'll send it to you. I'll still address it to the owner, saying that
It's-
the original's going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, done. Continued discussion of enforcement order 65 Howell Ave. Really all done?
I'm done.
Well, you tell me. I hope so.
You have pictures?
He emailed pictures. You have those pictures? I didn't bring them.
I do not.
Oxbow had sent an email out with some pictures and a report saying that he was satisfied, thinks it looks great. Hopefully you guys do too.
Oxbow's happy.
Have you seen it, Amy?
Yes, yeah, he did, especially, I must admit, this is not quite the most recent condition. This was after kind of that first rainstorm, and the next morning, he was already out there fixing up. Some of the stuff was actually outside the buffer zone, but, so he's got a nice berm, especially on the parking lot side of things, and has pulled the sediment that was at the base of the slope on either side of the silt fence line, pulled by handwork most of the sediment from out of the woods, and did all the replanting, which I know are in those pictures.
And seeded.
And seeded, yes.
Does it come up?
It's a little bit, takes like 20 days to come up, but it's a little bit.
Yeah, it may need reseeding, we'll see how it
Yeah.
goes, because then it rains, so.
I can touch it up in the fall when it's a little bit better timing.
This fell out, I don't know what to do, if you need it.
No, that was mine anyway, so.
Oh, that's yours. Do you need it?
So don't give it away. Don't give it, it looks old.
It does, yeah.
So are we in a position to lift the order?
Well, I guess the only issue is if you wanna release the enforcement order, or wait until there's been some more monitoring. But we'll be monitoring it anyway, and you can always reissue the enforcement order if it comes to it, so.
Yeah.
It was a huge effort.
A lot of money. Big mistake on my part.
Oh, jeez. So I guess I'll make a motion that we lift the enforcement order on 65 Hartwell Avenue.
I'll second it.
Okay with that, Amy?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't have to keep coming in, unless something else happens.
Unless something else happens, yeah.
See you later.
See ya.
Continued public hearing notice of intent for 24 Bruce Street. R22-16, Mass D, file number 204-864, for construction of a single-family home. Why it's on my mind, I realize at the top of the driveway, on the looking toward the house, at the top of the driveway, on the right-hand side, that's where the bound for taking off of when you're doing all the lots on Bruce Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you don't want to disturb that rock pile that's right at the top of the driveway.
Okay.
Because that came when they resurveyed my place
They use that as the bound.
to start from.
That's
It's a
good to know.
starting point.
That's good to know. The electric company just told me that I
Over
have
here?
to cut
We're talking
those.
about over here?
Yeah. The electric,
driveway
the electric
existing?
company just told me I have to cut those trees down. I was trying to save as a buffer zone, but they can't get the wire through.
But it's right,
Yep.
that's the
Surprised we
existing
don't
house.
show it.
Yeah.
But it's right in there. That's
Okay.
where the,
I'll find it tomorrow and mark it up.
I don't know if there's anything to mark. I just,
Yeah.
I've been told
What'd you
that
guys
that's.
use?
We have all
GIS
these
or
bounds all
something?
around. No,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have, we
yeah.
located a whole bunch of bounds. They're on here, but
Yeah.
I didn't either just, we just didn't show it, or I can check too.
Yeah, but that's what I've been told.
Because we got the drill hole here and there's bounds out here and here, so.
So the driveway is here.
Well,
No.
Or what?
you know, that drawing board we keep going back to. Well, we've been there and been there and been there. And we were almost there last time, and then Sean spent the weekend looking at the plans and said we could do this a little bit better. So that's why we didn't come in last time. Decided to give it a couple weeks and actually make something worthwhile.
Oh, good.
So.
Let's see it, let's see it.
This, it was the existing, this is what we originally proposed. This was the original flagged wetland line. We came out, we found a couple of flags that needed to be added, and then we found a nice, lovely little pocket that connected over here.
Oh.
So, what that did was it put the driveway, proposed driveway in the 50-foot buffer zone. It put the septic still in the 50, and it put the existing house's reserve system within the 50. I've gotten that out of the 50, and that's gonna come under a separate notice of intent when he goes to upgrade. He's got a working system now, so we have a reserve for this for a proof, so he can split the lot off, but he's not constructing this at this time.
Okay.
He's gonna construct all his lot, which is lot C. So, having
So
said.
that's transition one.
That's transition, well, that's what, oh no, here we go, so we got this in the buffer, you know, we had stuff
Right.
in the wetland. We had no way to get our road through here without coming around the 50, we couldn't make that lot work. So what we did was we reconfigured these lots a little bit and gave the backland lot its frontage off of Bruce Street, and it also has access off of Lowry Lane. What that did was that kept the septic there. It took the road completely out of the buffer zones, all the impervious driveway. It took it completely out. There's no drainage over here. The barn used to be
Cool.
proposed here.
Yeah.
We put the barn down in the back here. We kept the impervious surface is about, from the old plans to the new plans, the impervious surface within the 50 foot is about 35% of what it was originally proposed. And there's nothing within, we're not asking for any waivers for the 50, we're not in the wetlands, and all of the activities outside of the buffer zone down in this area. And this will be grass, and this will be the impervious roof. This roof,
Sorry about that.
this whole driveway and grading all, it comes down into this swale. All this driveway is tipped, super elevated towards the inside of the property. So all this water gets collected into the swale and runs down into some riprap and then a little shallow depression. It's about a foot deep. The whole basin's 2 feet deep, but I got a foot of freeboard, so the water will spill out and then it'll go down and get connected back into this wetland. We're not going within the 50 foot because that already works gravity. I picked up the road here a little bit. What we're doing with the roof for the barn is it's gonna sheet off in this direction, and we've got drip drains along the roof line. So what happens is we got a 12-inch deep by 2 foot wide thing of stone with a 6-inch perforated pipe in that. So as the water fills that up, it fills up the volume of void, so we get some storage and some attenuation, and then that gets discharged into the basin also before it goes out. So everything's getting treated, even the stuff that is outside of the buffer zone. Everything makes sense to just tip it down and come that way anyway, so it just worked. I have drainage calculations I brought with me tonight that show that we're meeting the groundwater infiltration and the water quality, and that the basin will work and it'll hold all the water quality volume for the roof and all of the drainage and the roofs for the house and the garage.
So I'm sorry, what's this in the outer 50? Is that in septic?
Everything's
No, the one
outside.
closer to me.
This?
Is that a septic?
That's a
or-
septic.
Okay.
Yep. So there'll be tanks out front here, and then there'll be a force main that pumps up to it.
And the other one is for the other house? The one-
Over here, yeah, that's for him.
Now, with this one that comes really close to the edge, is there enough room for you to work outside of the
Yeah,
50?
because I think you've asked that question a couple times before. So I moved it out. When I moved it out and back and away, and then put the hay bales. So the hay bales aren't, if you look, the hay bales aren't even touching the 100-foot buffer zone. I've got about a 3 to 5 foot space between the grading
50,
and
you mean?
yeah.
Isn't that the 50?
Sorry, the
Oh,
50.
okay.
And even still, I think this is all field. So this is a flat
Right, but
dead
that keeps you
area.
saying, we put the silt fence down, and then you find you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
fill into the fence.
Yeah.
There's probably a little
Or
bit-
put machinery there.
No, we're gonna come in and fill
Yeah.
it around this way and work our way, and make the mound, and then come up and build the system, because you gotta build the mound up first.
It's way up there.
Then you
It's
go
like
in,
7
put your
feet.
trenches in. Yeah. He's got 2 ski mounds he wanted to put in, so.
Sledding hills.
But compared to where we were and where we are now,
Yeah, much improved.
I think it's a much better system. I think he's happier with it too, so. We had this thing flipped around this way and the pool twisted, and a couple times there was just a lot of fill and big walls, and it just wasn't working right, so.
Yeah. No, it's
This
much
is
better.
what we came up with. This is the copies of the drainage and this plan. You can have this color plan if you want.
Yes.
How do you feel about it, Amy?
I haven't seen it either. Where's the isolated wetland? Where am I on that? Oh, okay.
Where's Laurie Lane? Oh, right there. Okay. So this is you coming down. Just trying to picture where this lot is.
Well, there's the previous 2 sheds, barns and sheds were
Yeah.
right here, under this, right?
Yep.
There's the hay barns here, and there's another,
So those are all coming down?
Yeah.
we
there's
tried to
actually
save this
7
one, and we
little
tried to
tiny
save
barns
this
on
one,
that
but the
property.
grading and the property lines just didn't, we had that one saved at first, but because this happened, and
I'd love to save that one, but it pinches into the septic.
not only the septic,
grading.
and then it's in the property line, but shack.
That one's got a foundation under it. That's a good barn. It's old, but it was built in the 80s.
So is it not a house here right now?
This is the existing house.
This is one existing house?
Yep.
So this is the whole lot.
This, if you drove by there, this is the foundation that's got the footings poured now.
Correct.
This
Is there
being
an
renovated.
old house on?
Right here,
Yeah, it's
up
right
here.
Yeah, it's being renovated at this point. It's white, right?
It's gray.
I
Right.
thought, okay.
Gray with red shutters.
Oh, so then there's a. Okay, I see what.
It's the second field if you're coming up
Yeah, I
Bruce
got
Street,
you.
I guess.
I
There's that
got you.
big giant field,
Yeah.
and then this property.
Yeah, right.
So should we schedule a site walk?
This is almost more general information. What did you mention about the reserve system for the existing house? Was it the
It's,
reserve you
it's
mentioned? or-
designed and approved, but we're not, under this notice of intent, we're not including it because he's not building it right now. When he goes to build it,
But the reserve, if he ever has to build a reserve, which you hope you never have to do,
correct.
that would be within the 50-foot?
It would be within, no, it
No.
wouldn't.
Oh,
If the
okay.
grading's
All right,
outside of the
I couldn't quite
50.
tell what I was saying, all right.
Yeah.
And do these two need to prove where the reserves are?
This one's got a permitted system. This one's got an existing working system with an upgraded system available to be done if this ever fails.
Yeah.
And then this lot C has its own system.
Because this has come up before, and I've had discussions with Jim Garaffi, is that the proposed system is outside the buffer zone, but they need to show a reserve system, which might be in the 50-foot.
As in between, right?
Which they're not, which is not happening here, but which couldn't be permitted, but they're not proposing to build it. And so it was an interesting discussion about, when can they say it's okay?
Yeah,
Because 5 years from, 20 years from now, if they have to build a reserve, they're gonna get denied, potentially. So they're forcing themselves into the 50-foot buffer zone with a reserve, so.
Yeah.
Well, we
As a
did,
design
But you're-
inside, though.
we proved out that
You're not there
the
anyway.
grading is outside of the
Right,
50.
yeah.
And said, goody.
Yeah.
You know, unless the regulations change.
That's a
Unless
discussion for another time. then.
wetlands don't change.
The reason for that is because if he goes to construct this, we don't want an open order of conditions and not be able to close it out because he hasn't built this within the 3 years because the system's running fine. So why spend 30 grand to upgrade this and then have an open order of conditions? That's my thought.
So you'll be hooking into town water?
Yes. Which the fees have gone up, in case you guys don't know that. Fees are now $7,700.
For water?
Yeah. It's almost, I'm gonna look into a well. Cause it's a lot of money, $7,700.
To hook on?
Just for the permit to hook in. And then I still gotta pay to put it in the wall, so you're talking $10,000.
Oh my gosh.
How much does a well cost?
$7,000 to $10,000. And then I don't have a water bill for the rest of my life either.
Yeah.
Well, this well here, as a kid, 50 years ago, that well, it took them about 4 years before they stopped overflowing the top.
Really? So there's good water there then?
Well, I don't know I don't know whether it's high in iron or not.
Oh yeah,
but
you know, quality, yeah.
Yeah, but as far as quality, as far as quantity,
It's there.
it was there.
Yeah. There's a well on the corner of that property down by that bounds you were talking about earlier that has, it's a dug well. That's not it, something
It
different.
goes dry.
Yeah.
That's why they put the artesian in.
Oh, okay.
Down here, in somewhere
Right,
in
yeah.
here.
Right, yeah.
The artesian?
Mhm.
I thought it was more right in front of, back of the house at one point.
There is a little something back there I found when we were moving the loan. There was a cover on something, but it was filled in. It was solid,
Huh.
about a foot and a half down.
This one was about this far off as I remember.
That's how deep it is, about a foot and a half down, but it's just, I don't know, they filled it in or something. There's nothing in it.
Maybe it didn't work out. I don't know, but that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Down at the
It's
edge
still
of the
open, Dave.
lawn.
You drove by there, you could see it's still, I left it open because
Yeah.
it doesn't fill up, it doesn't do anything.
Whatever.
Where is the mystery pipe at the far end? I forget.
It's in the saddle. It's in this low point right here.
So what's gonna happen to that?
We were just gonna leave it. I mean, we could cap it in this disturbance, or we were gonna just bury that end of it, but you don't know if you want us going into the 50 just to take it out.
But
I
you
don't even
know-
really know what I was doing.
You don't know where it goes the other direction.
You're gonna have water coming from over here across in this area, down at the bottom. At some point, that could
That's why the
happen.
pipe was there.
Over the other side of that stone wall, I used to farm it, and that was not early land.
Is that piping that isolated wetland over? Draining?
Nobody found a connection. They went out there and peppered that place and did not find a connection between here and here. They said that goes that way, and there's a giant riser over here.
Do you want me to put a connection from there to here?
I really wouldn't.
No, no,
Leave it
because-
alone.
I wouldn't.
All right.
But you're potentially ending up with an issue like Turkey Farms with the farm pond.
Right.
There's a pipe out there.
Right.
It's not gonna be out there anymore, and nobody knows what the function of that pipe is.
Yeah.
But the low end of this pipe, which I assume arguably it's this side, we don't really know, but arguably it's this side. This is all pitching up to the big pile of rocks that's down there that drains out. I mean, it slopes out of there, so.
The issue would be.
I don't think any water's gonna ever
upstream, if that pipe goes away,
retain any
water might
water.
pile up upstream of that.
And so, and while we're talking about that, the debris pile, can I remove that? It's full of trash, microwaves, old kitchen stuff. It's like, it was this dump for years. You guys walked the property, there's like everything in
Take it
there.
out of there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go and take it out before we
As long
put
as
the hay,
there's no
the
contaminants or any
hay bales in
crumbs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, you know what, we just
Concerned
flipped it up
Mm.
with the brush cutter. We had the brush cutter and they cut the
Yeah.
grass. We flipped it up and microwaves were coming out in pots and pans. Actually, I have pictures on my phone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, whole microwaves.
I'd be
People
concerned,
empty
I'd
their
be
house out.
concerned that they maybe, let dump other stuff in there too if it was a dump.
So I'd like to just go in and clean that out. There's one picture right there. Shows the back of the microwave. And then if you scroll to the right, there's all kinds of trash in there. There's cups and pots and pans.
That's sort of across the wetland, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's up on the
if
hill.
you zoom
Yeah.
in, you can
Well,
see there's
so you'd
like
have to cross the wetland
teapots.
to get to it.
I think he used it
yes.
as his trash instead of going to
In the
dump.
wetlands.
Wow.
No, this is all high over here. This is above those rocks. This goes up like this.
They didn't flag the other side of the wetland.
This was where the water was coming down when we were out there that day, where it was wet, and it was coming from that channel and coming down here and into the swale that way. So this is a high ground up here. He would have to access it from over here.
So you plan on doing that by hand? Or with
No,
a-
I was gonna go in, drop a dumpster, take. I mean, there's probably 2 dumpsters worth of trash in it. It's not
Really?
like not like a couple barrels. It's like we need to pick it up and get rid of it. It's
Wow. Yikes.
It's-
As long as you can do it
I don't
without
think it would
disturbing.
harm anything to clean it up.
Depends, as long as there's no,
I mean, I
If
still
it's
go in there and
household
cut the grass
debris,
all around it.
if
So
it's
it's
household debris, it's one thing. If he's dumped any type of,
Rusty
barrels
old,
with
yeah,
stuff in
barrels. That's what I-
That's the container's problem, isn't it?
what?
Once he puts it in the barrel and they haul it off, it's gone, right?
I would just take care of the surface. Just
yeah. I mean, that's all I'm gonna do is just pick the trash up. There's fencing in there, like old fencing. There's all kinds of stuff in there.
I don't have any problem with you doing that if you get to a point where you start seeing like if there's like a
Yeah, if I see an
50
oil
gallon
barrel,
50 gallon of oil, yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
I'd keep that right there.
Obviously, I didn't see any barrels in there, but
Do you feel the need to know how the crossing is gonna happen, or erosion controls, or?
I
To
would,
get to access.
I just need
There's a lot
one
of-
day in there, really. A few hours.
maybe, do you have anything like
Planks.
plywood planks, yeah? Or something
I would think it
cover
would
them?
dry up, it used to
It's,
dry up. down
yeah, it's
there.
dry right now. All this weather, it's really dry
It's
right
dry. I
now.
would do it during the dry.
Then
dry
use a
part.
track machine.
I would do it during
Yeah,
the
and I'll use a
dries.
track machine,
Can you use
obviously, not a
can
wheel
you use
machine.
Can you use a rubber wheel, rubber track type of?
I actually have a
vehicle?
bigger one that has a 28-inch pad that can put down way less ground pressure than the small one. I have both, but the bigger one puts way less ground pressure down than the small one.
I would do it during the driest part of the year.
It'd be right
Coming
now.
up, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to do that, yank that out, and then put the hay bales in.
Areas.
Yeah, I'll soil it with the loam that I stripped off of that front lot. I'll just cover back over with nice loam.
Okay.
You might not have to, you might just throw some seed in.
Yeah, I don't know what's underneath there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just being careful when you're pulling out.
Yeah.
You know? The last thing I want to do is like open up some
No, that's,
Pandora's
I left it
box.
alone all this, because all these meetings we've had, I've left it alone, and it's just, I look at it every day and say, this is gonna go. If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. So I'd rather just ask permission first.
Yeah.
Restore the disturbed area with native grass seed, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, grass, I don't know.
Hayland seed, what's hay?
Hayfield,
let it
just
recede.
hayfield.
Just let it. Just
So
let it
it's
be.
gonna do its
Yeah.
own thing. Yeah,
Yeah, just let it
Bittersweet.
go.
As long as it isn't fried by
Yeah, right. That's true.
Now, is this more than one permitting? Are we permitting more than one house with this?
It was filed under one notice of intent.
It's all under one house but that.
Oh, yeah, it's got
And you just required a waiver because they're going inside the 50-foot buffer.
Oh.
But it's a
Oh, a waiver for the
restoration.
pile?
Yeah.
Okay, restoration, yeah.
You did get a waiver.
Ah.
Yeah, I'd rather see
With
the
no
trash.
charge for the waiver, I'm assuming.
I'd rather see the trash getting taken out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not totally.
I appreciate that. It's a big pile of mess.
Yeah,
I'll take some
well,
more pictures as I lift it out. There's
Yeah,
a
well,
lot.
you haven't looked beyond the stone line.
Is there more back there too?
You're full of good news.
So the pipe, you don't care about, just cut it and leave it in place? And assume drainage is gonna get.
I can leave it in
So-
place. We'll just go over it with the
It's below
gravel.
grade.
It's below grade.
That's fine too. I didn't call to have it capped or anything,
Put
but
it there for some reason at some point.
Well, it's gonna get crushed, it's not gonna be effective anymore.
We're bringing the driveway up right where that pipe is, so
that's SDR 35, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like green pipe.
it's green pipe.
So where are we at this?
And one more thing, so that's a
Yes.
little infiltration basin next to the barn?
This is,
Yeah.
yes.
Were there any test pits done in there?
No.
It's
more of
really
a
good
water.
gravel.
It's more of a water quality basin, meaning it grabs the volume of water it needs to and treats it and then lets it go. And we're not requiring on any infiltration going down through. We're just
And I'm assuming you don't need to meet DEP standards because this is not a three.
single family. Yeah. This is kind of when we do the single families.
Well, it's more than 1,000 square feet, or was it 10% increase in impervious? Which means it would need to meet the.
Yep.
What's the number?
So we had to meet your local regulations, which basically meant to like hold the water quality and water volumes and the groundwater recharge. So we look at these as mass balancing a site instead of going through the whole standards for a subdivision.
Net increase impervious in the buffer zone is more than 1,000 square feet or 5%, whichever is less, and this is certainly, I'm assuming more than 5%. Well, it's just that piece of the barn in the buffer zone.
You know what, to tell you the truth, we may even be under them, because that barn's 3,700 square feet, and half of it's out and half's in. But
Or 5%, whichever is less, so I don't know what you want to get out there. Which means.
I think it works drainage anyways,
must have
'cause even
full
if you don't
compliance
have it.
with the Massachusetts stormwater standards.
what's that?
Which means full compliance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards. So you don't get the buy because it's a less than 3 house or 5 lot or whatever it is subdivision. But you had, this was the water quality volume calcs you had in here? Did you do TSS and all that
No.
stuff, or?
TSS for the roof's clean.
But you have the driveway.
But if the driveway's out of the buffer,
The
we're
driveway's out of
offering
the
to
buffer
go
zone.
above and beyond. Now we're getting, no. This is a clean roof. That's the only thing in the buffer zone. Everything else we're treating before it gets there. Did you just say that we have to meet the stormwater quality standards?
Yeah.
That's not what you just.
I just want to be careful because this provision has been missed before in the reviews. But many of the houses have had to put in, and again, it's different because the house is not in the buffer zone here, but, you know, Coltex or, you know, something.
Coltex, that's not, just putting in Coltex doesn't meet all the mass law stormwater.
No,
standards.
among other things, but, you know, so, single-family homes have been doing more than they normally would.
Yeah.
What's your?
So, okay, so you have, the water quality basin is sized according to DEP?
Yes.
And, I saw you had the pre and post impervious in here somewhere, and your
Yes.
infiltration is slightly increasing.
No.
Infiltration is
Capacity. What we're required to is about 800 something, and we're
825,
providing
943,
Yes.
yeah. And, what about pre and post runoff? Didn't look at it or didn't?
Didn't look at it. It didn't. No, I didn't look at that.
Yeah, so that's the only major piece of the
Well, I
DEP
asked-
standards that wasn't specifically addressed. It looks like everything else is in this package. So, you tell me. And it would just be for the barn, that half
My
portion of the barn.
understanding was when we first started this and started the drainage is that we didn't need to do the pre and post. We just needed to do some sort of infiltration chambers. So that's what I went with. And we went over and above for that, what I was told. And now we're being told now we have to do TSS calcs and all these stormwater management standards. It just doesn't seem, when we're actually only have this little bit of impervious surface in the buffer zone, and we're providing a basin, we're providing infiltration, and we have a wet swale. What else could we do?
We are gonna, but just as, I'm green here, right? So you're saying that because this roof is in this 100-foot buffer, that I need to do what?
Meet the state.
You got to attenuate a 2-year, a 10-year, and a 100-year storm. We need to. It's a whole other thing.
So if I caught this half of the roof that's outside and dispersed it into a Caltech system that's outside of all the buffers, would that equal out, would that balance out so we could be happy?
What, if you move
think
the
that
barn
makes-
Well,
outside of the
so
house?
half the roof, right, say the roof is 2,000 square feet, I'm gonna take 1,000 of it, and I'll keep the water well away from all that, well away from the 100.
That basin is entirely for the driveway, correct?
No,
Or is the rooftop?
the
I
rooftop
missed
goes
one.
The
into
roof
it,
goes into like a drip line trench system, and then there's pipes.
and then overflow would go
and then
into
the
there.
pipes go into the
Right.
basin itself.
And
So would you
what's the
be-
basin size, is the basin size
The
by
basin-
storm or just
Nope, the
what
basin
applies?
size is based on the groundwater
Yeah.
infiltration quantity.
Wait, so the regs say it has to be, how much square feet or 5%, whichever is less?
1,000 square feet or 5%.
In the stormwater management, it says to the maximum extent practical, even for a single family, if they made you do it, if you had the uniform compliance, so.
Right, so 1,000 square feet or 5%, whichever is less, so, and it's how much square feet into the buffer?
There's 3,700 is the total barn, so half of that.
So
So
you've
you're
already
really
got
close.
1,800 or
some,
so.
you've already got some impervious inside the buffer, or most
Correct.
of those
The
barns?
roof.
No, of the pre-existing, the existing.
No.
There's like pieces of shed and stuff, but that's not.
It's up
yeah,
here, all
it's all
here,
already up
yeah.
there.
So if you did shift the barn a little bit outside of the 100,
It's not enough room,
That's not gonna fit.
it won't fit.
well, it
So
sounds
that,
like you've done most of what you need to do though already. You just need to do a little bit more.
oh my God, but every time I come to the meeting, I get told I have to do something else. Nobody said anything about that storm drainage on the first set of plans that we had with all the Caltex designed next to the first one that we did.
Well, because all that discussion
So-
was,
so
because the
why
level
can't we
delineation
correct-
was wrong, and this is part of the bylaw regulations that are,
Here I am trying to do the right thing here, put 2 houses where 8 houses could go. And why can't we come to a settlement if we're worried about this 1,200 square feet of roof? Why can't I just catch half the roof and disperse it outside of the 100-foot buffer?
And I think that could be the solution, but I'm not sure if you wanted to say, oh, okay, or if you want to plant and maybe a letter outlining
I'll have him design a cul-de-sac that'll catch
the
half this
waiver,
roof.
and this is what is being done to meet.
In this
the
situation, to
stormwater.
meet the stormwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one way around it.
So, let me get this straight. We can eliminate mass stormwater quality standards if we take that roof and infiltrate it outside of the buffer zone?
That's what it sounds like.
They're using it as an option.
That's what we're saying?
So it's kind of
That's-
eliminating the.
Well, just think about it, is that what you wanna do? Because that's kind of a policy. So when the next person comes in with a single-family home in the buffer zone, if they just take all the drainage outside the buffer zone, is it a done deal? Which is kind of what you want people to do anyway, in a sense.
Right.
And it's going someplace that's gonna, treat it, slow it down, make sure it's not erosive. So, this is in my little pile of backup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, that's, but is that, in terms of expense, is that almost equivalent to doing just a little bit extra to do some more calcs for the?
I have no idea. Again, I'm green to this, but it sounds like going back to the drawing board on drainage calcs for 1,000 square feet of roof that I can send somewhere else.
Okay.
What do you want to do with the driveway then? Not treat it?
It's impervious.
What do you mean, not?
Well, because that's
Well, because we're
almost the
treating it
opposite.
in the buffer zone again.
Yeah, that's almost the opposite, because the driveway is not in the buffer zone. So by the way the bylaw is written.
So
We're
because
not
the
allowed
area
to-
draining into the wetland, we could put a basin in the buffer zone, but because the area that's already in the impervious area that's already in the buffer zone, we can't infiltrate it in the buffer zone? Is that what we're saying? Because all this water comes down, it's a different story that I could put this here, but because this is clean and it goes into trenches and then into here, I can't do that? I have to put it over here?
I'm not sure you can.
You can't.
See, he's not even on my side right now.
Well, I mean, our regs are out there. It's not that we, put this on you.
So,
Our
so what
regs
is the
are
solution though?
online.
What is the solution to doing what is that going to do for us? Doing the calculation with the stormwater thing, what is that gonna do?
Well, it's in the regs and everyone else has to do it.
For more than 3 lots,
Well, for one house,
It's for one house.
for one house.
or one
So a
barn.
single-family residential has to follow that. I've built 11 houses in the city, I've never heard of that.
Well, it's in our new regs. I don't know how much you've dealt with our new regs.
Cause I'm new to it, you know what I mean?
And we're new to it.
Yeah, I've never, I mean,
Yeah.
So if they're new and you have common sense approach to something, it doesn't, just because it's a reg that's written, that, I mean,
Well, you're gonna follow
is
the
there
regs,
a waiver?
that's why we-
Yeah, but you're not even,
Well, give us more options. What?
I don't know.
I know
how to
I'm
tell
not
you.
gone over and above on this, and I don't agree with the way that the commission's directing this.
Okay, so what
I
else
mean-
would you have to do though in order to?
I was
follow
told,
the
I was told
regs?
when the house and everything was up here, that put in a couple of Coltex to hold the roof.
On the
That's what I
original
did.
plan.
And then we took almost everything out of the buffer zone, and we went in and put in a basin and other infiltration measures that are better than the Coltex, and now we're told that it doesn't meet your regs, and that we have to go to the Mass State regs and the TSS and water quality volume and 2-year and 10-year and 100-year storms.
Well, this
That's
is
for
the
a
first
single-family
time-
house.
This is the first time we've seen the new plans revised, so
Uh,
give us a break and say, I mean, this is, we're
Well-
trying to work it out so that you can do this. So we wanna support you.
But I don't wanna change
on-
my design, I'd rather you look at these plans then. I don't wanna change the design just because you haven't looked at them.
But you have to expect, if it's the first time we've looked at a design, you have to expect that there may be some modifications.
Maybe, but I'm not gonna agree to them tonight for my client, because we haven't looked at the plans.
Yeah, we we get to the point where we have to send it out to somebody to look at it. That's, seems to me that's what would have to happen, a third party.
And you guys are paying for that?
No.
Well, no, see, I don't agree with me having to pay for the second bond this guy
But
either.
that's where we.
That's that's a gray area, and my lawyers
No,
are the
that-
same
that-
thing.
That is absolutely black and white.
Oh, but that's not right. I mean, when the planning board sends out plans for review, they pay for it. So, they don't have.
Planning board, third-party review is paid by the applicant.
Nope, not all of them. So, I mean, I don't know where to go here. I don't know what to do. I've pulled everything out of the buffer. I've stretched it out down the whole left side of the property.
No, we're very happy with what you did in that area. We're just asking in what, if you can do a little bit extra
just asked
to
that.
meet the stormwater regs.
I will go through the checklist and I will address all of the stormwater regs and how much of compliance they've gone through. And then we'll figure it out from there.
Okay.
What does that do for us for meetings here?
I mean, continue to the 23rd, if you so request.
Yeah, well, we're coming back, so. I'm on vacation, but they should come. We request to continue to the 23rd, please.
Okay.
Huh? Tractor accident. I'm not saying on TV what I did.
I'll tell you later. All right, good night, guys.
All right.
Night.
Good night.
Continued discussion, Cooper Farm discussion of enforcement orders, construction updates, Mass DEP file number 204-833, road utilities, and 204-838 to 204-849 houses.
Oh, yeah.
Good, how are you?
How was everybody's Fourth?
Wonderful. It was, in the middle of the week, it was kind of weird, but.
I worked. I showed houses up on Cooper.
I'll see you were making money.
No, yeah. So we've been up there. Amy's been up. I don't know if anybody went up and did a site walk and looked around. We've exhausted all of our labor out in the rear for in the woods. There's no Littleton kid that'll work for us anymore. We had to go to Labor Ready and hire.
They were out
for
there.
3
deadly
days.
heat, with buckets per brigade.
Yeah, and we had Mark there doing it with them on 2 days. So we went through, flagged everything. We went, I believe Amy went out there and waddled around. We have not done the blueberry bushes. We have them, we didn't get them. We're getting them from Central Mass Landscaping up in Lunenburg. We didn't want to put them in with the heat right now. We will put those in. We're going to pick them up tomorrow and then put them in tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to water them?
Yes, we do. We have water there now for it. We didn't have water there the last. But we have a big, the white big plastic container that we're gonna put a hose on and go.
You don't have some sort of a well or something?
That property's sold, so we're not gonna take water from one of the homes. We have a big container that we have a weeping line on that we'll just snake through. So we're here to ask for the enforcement order to be lifted.
Amy, you got an opinion on that?
Yeah, no, I think everything's stable out there, and they've done what they needed to do, especially for lots 4 and 5, which were the two they forced.
Grass is all in nicely and.
5 still needs the blueberry bushes, but that would have to
Correct.
come before the student compliance. Anyway, so looking at enforcement orders, kind of a separate issue.
Okay. I move to lift the enforcement order on
Lots 4 and 5.
lots 4 and 5.
Right,
Cooper
that's,
Farm.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
You're ripped from head to toe.
I had to do that.
You're ripped from head to toe. I listened to you, and I took it under advisement, and you were right. You know, it didn't hurt us having it there to keep the pressure on us, and I have no problem with that.
All those
So-
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What happened to Andrew? I missed him.
I think
He
his.
has a working
I
life
think his.
now.
Yeah, remember he was available
It was
all
like the
times of
wind,
the
he
day.
slipped right out. So we're all set?
So you'll send,
Everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll send you a letter.
Thank you, Amy.
Discussion 67 Mill Road.
Yes. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. So this is 67. It's an existing lot. It's a single bedroom lot, and
Next to the pond.
yes, here's a couple pictures. You can see.
This is
So you can
Sims'
see which house it is.
This is Sims' property.
Sims?
Simmons.
Simmons, yeah.
Simmons.
Yeah. So with me tonight is Jim McLaughlin, Lori Riley, and the owner's representative, Jane Simmons. So here's the existing lot. You can see here's Mill Road right here. Existing 1-story, 1-bedroom house. It's just been run down, no insulation, it was a cottage. This area in here is actually just a enclosed porch. Gross dimensions are 48 this way and 24. That's your greatest dimensions. Here is obviously the pond. The flood elevation is shown here at 216. So it comes up into here, but at the house it's 219, so about 3 feet above it. And I can show you, this is what they'd like to do. It's a single family. It's 2-bedroom. They're able to get we did some soil testing out there. They're able to get a 2-bedroom system in there. It's going to be just 1 floor. They want to have a paved driveway so they can park underneath the house. So we're keeping the same gross dimensions, just squaring it off. So it's going to be 24 by 48.
Except for the deck, right?
Right. So there's the deck that's going to be off the side, which is
You have a
perfect.
50-foot on there?
The 50-foot is on there. Yes, I'm sorry. It's shown.
It's out by the road.
It's here
Oh.
and comes into here like this.
Wait, that's the 50?
That's the 50
Oh.
from the bank, right? That's the resource area is the bank.
Okay.
There's no BVW.
So it's entirely within
Kyle,
the
you
50?
maybe remember, this is the one
Yes.
where we were going around with the trees in the water being cut.
Yeah.
That lot.
Mr. Simmons is out there with a chair just and an axe every now and then, taking a few whacks at the tree.
Yes.
So we haven't
So-
finished the
so-
grandfathering.
That enforcement order?
Yes, no, not the enforcement order, how much
Well,
of the
this
existing
is a
structure.
poster child.
But this isn't really an existing, you're gonna tear it down and then,
Yes,
and
it's
then rebuild.
nothing really worth keeping there. The foundation is just not suitable for today's standards. It's a block foundation.
But in that case, a tear down and rebuild, would that be part of the grandfathering?
Well, that would be up to you, but that's up to you. We just went through this for like 45 minutes in act and went like this and finally came back that, because it was actually very similar, the house was condemned and had to be torn down and rebuilt. You know, and you tear it down, you're done. But you actually agree that a tear down rebuild is, you still have the grandfathering.
That's basically the same.
A tear down expansion, potentially a whole new story, but
Well, this is putting a paved driveway and a deck and a gravel turnaround, all within the 50.
Yeah.
I mean, is it possible to move at least the driveway out of the 50?
You would change yes, you can. You'd enter straight off the front of the house. You could come straight into the house.
Because we have a limit on how, I mean, even if it's a tear down rebuild, you're adding a lot within the 50, which is.
Understood. That's why we're here. We want your feedback, so when we come in, we can at least have a jumping off point that we all have seen before.
This is just informal discussion.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I understand, but yeah.
Do you want numbers? I mean.
Well, yeah, because our regs now don't have any leeway. You have to have a waiver in order to do any of this. And in order for a waiver, it has to be in the public interest and all that list of things.
So there is public interest here because the house now is dilapidated and provides no value to the neighborhood. There's also a single cesspool that if somebody wanted to live off of, they still could. They could go live in this house today and live off a single cesspool, putting in a fully compliant Title V system that's, instead of being within 25 feet of the pond, it's outside of 50. It's gonna provide additional treatment and is flavored away. So, I believe that's some public interest. As far as the, the additional impervious area, we're squaring off the house, but, runoff from the roof is clean and can be infiltrated directly into the ground without treatment. So, even though we're increasing that, there's no disinterest to the public, I guess.
Couldn't you move it back? Move it back. I don't know. Well, anyway, but that's my feeling, is that it's too much in the 50.
Where's the existing driveway?
There's a gravel driveway coming in here.
So
It's not even, it's hardly a driveway, it's tire treads going where they've pulled in over the past. We're starting everything in the 50. We don't meet this front setback. Right now, we're only 25, let's say use round numbers, 26 feet from the front yard, from the front line, front lot line. With the relocation of the house and a front porch, we'll probably be down to maybe 23 feet from the front lot line, and that's probably only, it's still less than 30 from the sideline. You really don't want houses much closer than that, I would think, from a street. Even though it's not a very busy street, right? People that go down there, the residents and the mailman.
What's the existing footprint of the house?
Here it is. Here it is, right here.
It's a little gray.
And you can see it. And
you can see the gray line.
Yeah. What's the expansion? How much bigger is the
So right now, the roof is 837 square feet. As proposed, when you're squaring it off, keep the same, like I said, gross dimensions. The area of the roof is 1152. Let's see. The entire 837 is within the 50 foot. Well, no, it's a little bit outside the 50 foot. But the area of the roof that's going to be within the 50 foot is 995 versus about 800.
It's actually the 100 foot that counts for that dimension anyway.
So the deck,
deck
is new.
I would think.
We've been pretty tough on people within the 50,
Yeah.
and for decks and stuff, we really have. I mean, it's like, no.
Yeah.
But what's
For a single-family
what's wrong with
house.
the deck?
It's
Well-
just it's additional work within the 50.
Right, but it's pervious.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm just.
I don't know.
that's-
We don't know what it's made of, or what,
Well, we can make it
Plan
pervious.
is
It's
for
just
the
going to be, it's just going to be, pine boards or boards.
But
On the ground?
No, it's going to be. It's coming. It's going to be. It's probably a step down from the finished floor, so it'll be about 8 feet off the ground.
So it's going to be held up by pilings.
Well, a couple sonotubes and some 4x4s.
So it's work.
Well,
so it's,
yeah, it's work.
I mean, we would, just for any work within the 50, even if it's a tear down rebuild within 50, we'd want to have you go through all those things, the alternatives analysis, so alternative, looking at all the alternatives to get it out of the 50, or at least as much as possible? Any increases out of the 50? Public interest, the list that's in
Yeah.
our regs.
Yeah, we've had people flip-flop garages to get out of the 50, flipping decks around, minimizing
moving
decks, moving.
Well, we're not getting out of the 50.
Oh, you're not getting out of the 50, but
Yeah.
you're increasing a lot
Right.
in the 50. That's the issue.
How
Right.
about if you go off the end over here with the deck?
Still in the 50. We can look at the floor plan and we'll bring it up to them.
Or move
Do you
it back
guys see it?
and then,
You guys with us in?
you
Yeah.
know, move it back and.
Back where?
You can't, you gotta be, they can't get between the
This
road.
way.
They have to
You
have
can't.
a setback between the road and the house.
It's really tough. I
Okay.
mean, we're already going to ZBA, and this one we're trying to get a little bit because we're sliding it away to avoid the septic offset. So we're sliding it parallel with the house, keeping the front line similar, and we're coming in about 1.5 feet closer that way.
I mean, it's still even if it's a tear down, so basically it's a new house.
Right.
It's a new house within the 50. And
Right, but someone takes that house, they insulate it, they paint it, they leave the foundation the same, they do everything, leave the cesspool there, and you got, septic going, from, 2 people going directly into the lake.
No, I mean, there are some improvements that, we appreciate.
Yeah.
But just so you know, our regs are pretty strict right now. We're looking right now at what increases we would allow with a grandfather, but it's not in there now.
Yeah.
So it's pretty strict now.
It is strict,
So-
and
So you need to do a lot to prove that you have sufficient reason to add this much in a certain impervious surface in the 50.
Right.
Or
So what is, I know the 50 is a no-touch. That's when you have, and I understand that you have that regulation, but when 2/3 of the lot is in the 50, you have an existing home, you're putting in impervious area, which is roof, which is clean, and it's not gonna cause erosion. What's the threat to the pond?
Well, we just need an alternatives analysis, okay? If you
Yeah.
don't have any other option,
Yeah.
we need to know that.
Yeah.
If
And it's not that necessarily the house per se, am I hearing right, but it's also the driveway
The
and
driveway,
deck.
the driveway and the
Right.
deck.
Pieces.
If you put options like putting the deck on the top of the house, on the roof, having a roof deck,
What kind of driveway would be more amenable?
and a pervious driveway.
What material?
Well, whatever material you come up with. We don't wanna decide for you what
Yeah,
material.
well, I mean,
but,
because gravel
like, there's
is,
turf stone, there's,
Yeah.
things like that. Other options than
Yeah.
pavement.
yes. But gravel?
Gravel can do that if it's contained.
That's, yeah,
There's a
that's
way
the
to
problem,
contain
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Is
That
But I
one's
mean-
better.
Yeah.
Sorry, is the only reason that the house isn't out of the 50, is that just because they would like to reuse the existing foundation?
They're not using any of the existing foundation, it's
All
not,
come
it's
out.
not usable.
Okay.
But the reason it's in the 50, because we want to stay at a similar location, and pulling it out of the 50, you're gonna be on the lot line. And we already have to go to ZBA because we're non-conforming. So there's no guarantee that they'll even approve this, because we're increasing the non-conformity. We think that we can get a certain amount of non-conformity, but even as a house, even if you pull that up, I mean, how far do we go? You go 10 feet off the lot line, and then where is, safety from the street, and, things like that, just from, things like
Sure,
snow, yeah.
but I think that we'd like to see as much of it get pulled out. So again, some other options would be to see what it would be like pulling the house. If you're not using the foundation that is right there right now,
Yeah.
if you could pull it out and see
So we've
what
looked
it
at
would look like.
We've looked at a couple, we can pass this around, where we've squared it to the street, kept the existing offset, and you're really not moving much out of it from that. So if that's right dead in the water, not an option, then that's something that we can decide right now. We have another thought that we just squared off where it is, and you're not doing anything. We thought about having, driveway under this way, and, instead of having it in the 50 over here, you have it in the 50 over here. So we've looked at a few things, and this is the one that we decided is not any worse than any of the others, but it's a preferred alignment from an aesthetic point of view from what the owners want to maintain.
Well, what are the options for the driveway
As far as the location or the,
location?
well, we could keep the same, we could come straight in off of here. It's gonna be more disturbance in this area.
But it's outside of the 50.
Yeah, and it's not as aesthetically, they don't have as much turnaround. I wouldn't like that. I mean, granted, this is a dead-end street, there's not a lot of traffic, but at that point, you are backing directly into a street. The snowbanks in the wintertime, and are you gonna be, you're gonna have your site, are you gonna back directly? I know sometimes there are regulations where you can't back directly into the street. This one, at least you can back up, swing out, come forward.
But if you had your back up here, even though you'd be less in the 50, or backing up here.
But you can't back up. Once you get out straight here, I mean, this is only 25 feet wide. Once you're out straight, you're 12 feet. I mean, and then to try and make that 90 and pull back, make it 90 to 90, it's gonna be,
I guess I don't want to argue fine points.
No,
We'd like to see plans and
I mean, yeah,
alternatives.
and the major point is that it's new construction within the 50. I don't care if it's a tear down, or, I mean, you could, if you use the existing house, that's one thing, but
If you're not even using the foundation.
it's basically new construction in the 50. We have to be extremely careful. We've been very hard-nosed on that.
You say basically, which means it's not new construction.
It is new construction.
It's a new home of tearing down an existing home.
Doesn't matter, people tear down existing homes all the time, put new houses up, even if they're not within the 50.
Right, but are they,
And it
but
might
we're
be
starting
different
at
if you were
50.
just tearing down and going exactly the same footprint, because you're increasing the footprint by 300
Yes,
square feet.
yes,
So
because it's not.
For just the roof.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful about precedent setting and allowing work within the 50.
So-
We've held a very hard line on that since
All right,
we
so
established it.
your commission cannot set precedents, only the ZBA can set precedents. I understand someone comes in and says, well, you let them do this, why did you let them do it and you don't let us? And you could say, they started in the 50, they only have a 12,000 square feet lot to work with. More than half the lot is covered by water, and we had to give them some variances because of what they were working with. I mean, there are hardships.
When it comes to septic systems, we're a little bit more lenient because the septic system has to get, if people are forced to have a failing septic system and the only place they have is within a 50, we would allow something like that.
So that seems backwards, because the septic system causes more pollution than roof.
But if
and more
people,
threat.
but that wouldn't be with new construction, that would be with an existing house that has
With replacement, with
that has a
failed
failed septic system that needs to be replaced. We would,
Those are the only things that are allowed in the 50-foot.
right.
And that's the thing that I thought was more of a threat, or, so I made sure that was outside the 50 foot.
Well, it has to be, doesn't it?
No,
By Board of Health.
no, I mean, you can get variances from that
Variances
as well.
too.
But, why have a variance when you don't need one? For that, we don't need a variance. For this, there's just not a way to build it without having something.
I mean, we don't want to prevent you from building this house necessarily. We just want to minimize the amount of increase.
Well, careful, because the way the regs are written now,
No
they
building.
can.
50.
They can rebuild the exact house, exact footprint.
Exactly.
But the driveway, the deck, the increase in the house by the
Yes,
current
well, that's what I
regs.
mean.
Yeah.
Because I just mean that
So-
the increase within the 50.
Right, I mean, we're not
beyond what's
saying,
already
you
there.
can use the existing foundation, right? Take the house down, use the existing footprint. Rebuild on that existing footprint.
And
Is that
that
what
would
we're
be
saying?
sort of a new thing, because we haven't dealt with that yet, but I could see that being a fairly easy reach. I mean, was it 136 Mill, they wanted to get in by 100 square feet for their mother-in-law apartment?
Right. Couldn't do that. They had to flip it around to the front.
Yeah, but they don't have the options.
We gotta
lot
have
is so
options. We gotta have options.
Where, here?
Yeah.
Okay, give it to me. 'Cause I hear that one.
Smaller house. Smaller house.
1,200 square feet?
We want it small.
You know, 1,200 square feet. yeah.
It's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
The lot, it is what it is. The lot is
Yeah.
what it is,
It's a
so we
one-bedroom
can't,
house.
it is what it is.
That's what I'm saying, here's what it is, so we
We
need to work
can't-
within, you know.
Yeah, but we can't.
parameters.
Give us some options, okay? Work with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't get what we came in here for. I think I'm just surprised at the rigidity of, you know, your thoughts.
We
on
have
it.
to be. We have to be
Well,
within the 50.
That's the way the regs are written.
They are, but that's why we have people on the boards instead of nobody that can
Yeah, but we
look
have
at
to
people
hold-
in the eye and say, and look at this thing.
Then
Look
we'd
at
have
this
to,
eyesore.
we'd have developers coming in and putting houses within the, it starts to,
It's a slippery slope.
But that's why you take it case by case, you know?
We are,
and-
and we want you to, we want
not
you to
saying no.
minimize the
Yeah.
expansion of the 50. That's what your goal is. So we need you to come up with some alternatives, an alternatives analysis to get
So you
things out of
think,
the
you think
50.
it's okay to expand in the 50?
No, I said
don't.
not to expand.
You're saying minimize.
Well, didn't we allow
I
a little
just-
triangle? We allowed a little triangle.
But I'm not.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
we've moved everything
They
back.
started with that, they flipped it, they were in the triangle.
We've moved everything out.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, and they had the door in a weird place to do it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, actually, they liked it better. Yeah. Sometimes it works out better.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything?
Yeah, so are all of you you vote on this board? Or
Yeah.
So you all, because I only really I'm hearing from you and,
Yeah, we all vote.
and you seem like none of
Four
you.
voters.
So none of you seem like you're very welcoming into this town.
And there's two more.
Well, it has
three
nothing to
more.
do with being welcoming.
Well-
It's just we have regulations
I
that guide us.
Right.
And we follow the regulations, and if something fits within the regulations,
Right.
then we work with it.
But
Like,
when we ask for suggestions and you can't even offer some.
I think we've offered
You know,
different
Offered
suggestions with
What,
the-
you mean
with the-
alternatives to
Yes,
pervious
alternatives, any kind
surface?
of alternative.
Impervious?
Nope, so we come back with them, so we can
I
wait
said,
another
put
month
your deck on
or
the top
two.
of the house. I said,
That's
turf
okay.
stone rather
Do away
than
with the
pavement.
deck.
I'm listening. I
Move
appreciate
the
it.
driveway.
So that we can be heading up straight out into, and backing up straight onto the street. So safety issues, so safety issues don't matter at all.
No, if,
If
read the
you're-
regs. Safety issues
Yeah.
definitely matter.
So so I've built a house before, and I've ripped down a house and put up a house, and I never experienced, and I've done it twice, I've never experienced this before.
Unfortunately, it's a different world.
No, well, it's a different town.
Yeah.
Well, did you do it within the
We're
buffer
not,
zone?
we are far from, our town is far from the most tight town when it comes to regulations, let me tell you.
Well, that's
We,
fine.
It's
I
just,
appreciate
so-
it. I
so we're-
appreciate your effort.
I just hope that when we come back, there will be some consideration to the difficulties of the lot and the reasonableness of having a lot smaller than 1,200 square feet, a house smaller than 1,200 square feet. That's all. But I guess we got what we're looking for. I mean, there's basically very little wiggle room
Right.
on the
Very little.
regulations,
So
but,
if you-
and, I mean, yeah.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
if you take the deck away, are they in the 50? Are
Yeah,
they-
the 50's,
we're able to
the
do
50's
it?
out here. So the
So
entire
if
house
you
is
just
in
took
the
this
50.
deck off, you'd be able to do what you need to do?
No, not necessarily.
No. They're telling us pretty much we can do nothing.
Oh, I think that they're just asking us to look back at it. Am I right?
Well,
Is there
what-
Keep
something-
within
if
the
we took this
foot-
deck
not
off, are
the-
we gonna be able to expand
Excuse me.
a little bit here with this? Or is this, just a definite, it has to stay as is and?
They want us to tell them why it has to go there, why this is the best option.
Yeah.
Because of the septic system
And
and
then if
everything.
you gotta go home and
And
write up a
expansion in the
scenario.
50 has
What's
not
that?
been allowed.
You've gotta go home and write up a
Expansion has
good
not been
scenario.
allowed, yeah, in the 50.
I gotta write, no, I wrote up some really
Keep within the
bad
same
scenarios, that's what I need to write up
same
to make this one
footprint.
look good.
I don't know if there's a possibility here somewhere of doing what you did with Workers' Credit Union in terms of
Exactly, that's
the
what I
restoration,
envision this.
which would be
Yeah.
very big and expensive because there's a lot of possibility for it.
That's true, we,
But that's the tail wagging the
for the
dog to a
Workers'
degree.
Credit Union, they also was a tear down, rebuild. And they
Commercial.
yeah, commercial. And they did restoration to compensate for some expansion, so.
Where'd they tear down?
Serious
On-
restoration. They haven't taken it down yet.
On Russell's?
119
Yeah.
Russell.
Yeah.
What did they tear down?
The
They
Penwell
haven't yet,
building.
but they will.
They're expanding that and redoing it. Not tearing the whole building down.
Not tearing the whole
they're adding
building
to
down.
it.
Yeah.
They're keeping the.
No, they're
main-
not.
They
They're not
changed their
keeping
mind?
They're keeping just the foundation, but they're building on top, but they're raising it to, they're keeping with.
My understanding, they were keeping the frame of the building.
Not that I
forget.
remember. I think it was
not
all
a
the way
tear
down to the.
down.
It's
It's
all the
not
way
that
down to the
matter. I
foundation.
mean, there's.
They weren't
Yeah,
completely
just
tearing that
rearranging
down.
The
Right.
amount of impervious is decreasing. They are working in the 50-foot, but the impervious is decreasing.
Oh, when they
And they're doing
increased,
some
they.
major restoration.
Yeah, the
Plantings
stormwater
and-
also was totally revamped and improved, so.
Yeah, I mean,
It
you
was a
can't compare the
hybrid.
two, I don't think, because that's commercial, you got more parking, it's probably a bigger building, and they, you know, they must have other options, I don't know, but, you know.
Well, our
it's,
point
you know.
is they were decreasing the impervious, they're improving the stormwater, and doing various things to improve the lot rather than just replace or expand.
Okay, so when we talk about improving this lot, we can control the stormwater, the amount of stormwater runs off, but it's still gonna be, the impervious area is still gonna be in the 50, there's no stormwater controls there. So we put it into a dry well, I mean.
What I'm saying is you need to come up with a scenario as to why.
Yeah,
And convince us that it's gonna be even better than it is now.
oh, anyhow, it's
And
easy.
anything's gonna be better.
No, not the house.
And there's
Not the house, not the
there's nobody
house.
telling
Yeah.
No, you gotta take, you gotta take
It's
the
the
whole thing as
resource
a
Effect
whole.
on the wetlands, and the surface water, I should say.
Oh, I can,
Pond.
yeah, on the wet,
Pond.
The
on
pond.
the pond?
The impact on the pond would be lessened or.
Oh, there we go, I'm done, we're going, we're good to go. Impact on the pond? There's no impact on the pond.
We're not saying
Well,
there's an impact on the
yeah.
pond. We're
As,
saying,
as I recall, the lot, it's been mowed, cut down right to the pond's edge. For at least half the lot, I can't remember what the back half of it.
There's some
looks.
trees, they probably can't get down to it.
I
It's
haven't gotten
steeper.
to it yet, yeah. So there is certainly opportunity for restoring that bank along there, and naturalizing it, so there's opportunities. But that's usually the discussion after you agree that the alternative is acceptable.
Right.
All right, well, thanks for your time. I mean, I think we got what we wanted. I think it's just, I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, so that's never enjoyable, whether it's theoretically or it's real estate. All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Discussion project changes lot 13, 7 Chestnut Lane, Mass DEP file number 12-723. And you haven't got a lot of time left because we have to be out of here so we don't go over time.
well, we've already missed Trump's announcement, so.
Who was it?
I have no idea.
Well,
The guy, was it the lady or the guy? That's all.
That was the guy.
You can say that anything you want to. It's either guy or it's not.
Okay, Jeff Hannaford for the
It's a guy.
applicant. Oh, yes.
The guy from
13.
Massachusetts?
Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh, it's Kavanaugh?
The reason we're in, I believe I mentioned at the last meeting that we were relocating the proposed dwelling on lot 13. The owner had talked with his surveyor, and what they accomplished was moving a portion of the lot line between 12 and 13 to allow the house to be moved further from the wetlands that were to the rear of the house. There's a finger of wetlands that comes up behind it. Previously, we were a little over 30 feet from the wetlands. It's been moved about 18 feet, so now we're a little over 50 feet to the rear, which was the closest point. The plan that I have here, the green is the proposed, and I outlined in red what was previously approved.
Previously, yeah, that was.
Yeah, the most recent previous.
That was,
So I think you can see it's been moved up, it's also been rotated slightly. That's also caused us to move, of course, the end of the driveway where it ties into the house. We've managed to maintain The other setbacks within a foot or two of each of the other setbacks. So the major improvement is to the wetlands to the rear of the house. So we felt that since this was primarily improvement over what was previously approved, that this could be done as a minor amendment to the existing order.
Or a field change.
Hmm?
Or a field change.
Or field change.
So everything just looks shifted. Is that right?
Yeah, well, two things. It was moved in this direction and it was rotated.
And where's the,
So
sorry,
it's
where's
more
the
up the
50?
hill?
It's,
Where's the 50 foot? It's hard to see where the 50 foot is. I'm
Oh.
sorry. Oh, here it is. This
Which
one.
is not pertinent to this, because this predated it, but.
right, it does
Right.
predate, but now it does meet it. That is the 100.
Oh, okay.
That's the 100. The dimension now is roughly 51.5 feet from this point.
Oh, that's
Again,
the
this
wetland
is the
line, right?
finger. Yeah, it
So
wraps
the
around.
50 is about here.
But the driveway is within the 50
Right.
of the other wetland.
So it's not increasing, no, it's actually decreasing impervious, right? Because
Correct.
you're.
Right, we're
shifting.
shifting up the driveway.
Right.
Yep, that's an improvement. So we lose this much here. We gain a little bit here, but we're losing more than we're gaining.
Right.
And this was the closest point. It's roughly the same now. So there seemed to be nothing but bigger positives than. So he did go through the lot line change with the planning board, so that was approved.
How much did that change?
Far.
Lot line, how much did that change?
Well, it was here, so they put a jog in it from here, 17 feet over, and back to here.
So
It was small enough that it didn't alter the minimum lot areas that he needed.
So essentially, half the guy's driveway is on somebody else's lot, huh?
Well, I mean, either from here, it was gonna be on somebody else's, or from here, it's on somebody else's, so it doesn't really change that. But that's why there'll be an easement to cover that.
Well, it's further away from the wetland, slight decrease in impervious surface, just a rotation. Big a field change. What do you think? How about you, Rachel, what do you think?
I mean, if it's a net loss of pervious, then that's good.
Okay, I move to, the project change for lot 13, number 7 Chestnut Lane, can be done as a field change.
Second?
Do we hear a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Now I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
How did you make out with the rest of the stuff we gave you? A laundry list to do.
And I didn't think that was coming.
You didn't.
Well,
Do we have to sign off on that?
That I will just write a letter for, the two, requests for extensions. The other ones are also on the table.
this I just received this afternoon. Part of what we discussed was there was a request for an occupancy permit for lot 12. If you recall, doesn't have anything to do, I know the other issue is gonna be the bridge and the wetland replication, so we really have, besides what you just approved, two other issues.
Outstanding issues.
Right, so I wanted to talk about 12 first. We had to do some more drainage that was already approved but hadn't been installed. So that got done last week, and the surveyors went out on Friday and did an as-built on what's out there today. So this is a draft of that as-built survey. There are a few things I want them to add to finalize it, but I thought I'd bring it tonight. I thought there might be a question. And also to get some input from you, because if we need to get something on the next agenda, then Wednesday's the deadline for that. But the main purpose of this would be, right now, we're not at a point where we can ask for a certificate of compliance on the common drive. This would be more or less treated as a progress on the work that's out there. I know that there are times when an occupancy permit is requested, and whether it's the weather or whatever else it is, that occupancies can be issued while there is still work to be done. You still have the order of conditions that's tied to the title of the property, so you still have leverage over. But because 13 isn't complete, the pavement that's out here right now is a binder course, so there will be the finished paving that has to be done, and that can't be done right now. So obviously, you know, at some point, the occupancy has to be issued prior to that being done on lot 12. But the latest work is there was a detention area that was approved here with a swale picking up the water from the wetland side of the driveway. They also located some of the other underground drainage on the high side. Was also on the previous plan was we wanted under drains put in to collect the water that's coming down off the hill and direct that to where we need it. And it's been working very well. This was rip-wrapped on the upper side of the driveway. There was always a water problem there. This seems to have satisfied that. So there is an under drain that comes across. There's one outfall here. There's another one that comes down. There's an outfall here. And then there's more that comes down, and there's a smaller detention area here, and there's another outfall for that. So with the addition of this swale in this detention area, that completes the drainage portion of this work. This swale and drainage, detention area was just done last week. It's been loamed and seeded, but it's not fully stabilized yet, but.
So that's
it
not
needs to
shown
work.
on there?
That's part of what I need them to
Okay. All right.
finalize, but
Yeah.
it does show here, there's the emergency spillway. This is the pipe that feeds into it, plus there is sheet flow that comes off through a riprap area into the high side of that detention area. So as of right now, the drainage is complete, and there's really no other work proposed for that area. The remaining work will be finishing the driveway, tying it into lot 13, and then there is a detention area for 13, mainly for their roof drains, foundation drain. So that portion is over in this area that will be completed at that point.
There's some replication or something you were supposed to be doing. I don't know if it's off of here or off the.
Which is a third project.
Right, there's no replication associated with this order of conditions. So with that, we can update this with a few things I had noticed in my review, but otherwise, I think we're at the point where we don't need to do any more work for the drainage system for that portion of the driveway that's got the binder. So we were hoping that with this, knowing that the work is done and that an as-built, a partial as-built is forthcoming, that perhaps the commission didn't have an issue with withholding a sign-off on the occupancy at this point.
Been through it once already in the last month. What are you thinking, Amy?
I haven't seen what they've done yet, but I guess it's really kind of how you guys feel about the track record and releasing an occupancy permit.
So how much?
Because you don't have the building permit for 13 yet, correct?
The building permit for
Do you remember?
13?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you've applied for it yet, have you? Or is it?
They have all the.
It's in there, okay, all right.
So, I mean,
So it's
the
for this
houses,
House here.
That's the occupancy permit, yeah.
yeah.
Is the wall stable now, so it's not gonna go anyplace?
Yes. We've had a structural engineer that designed it. The structural engineer also inspected all the work that was done, and they provided their own as-built to the building department for that work, so.
Is that gonna require the same thing on 13?
No.
Well. How much more work, so you're saying it's not all the way complete, but what is there?
Well, the
remaining to
only
do?
work that's left to do is tied to lot 13.
So everything from here over is complete?
Right, the underground electric's in, this is the transformer here, so, you know,
In terms of
this
the-
is fully energized.
In terms of this is
it's
all stable?
loaned, seated. The only thing that isn't is the work that was done last week, but it's
What's
up to
that?
Mother Nature now.
So it's seeded, but it just has to grow,
Right,
establish.
so we're not at a point where, you know, we would be coming in saying, we're looking for a certificate of compliance, it's time to take out the erosion control, that should still
Right.
stay in place, especially where they still need to do the top coat on the paving.
Right.
So, you know, we're not asking for that, it's simply.
Everything's
Right, and.
stabilizing.
Right,
itself.
and where all the work immediately around the house, you know.
That's been hydroseeded?
Yeah, that's fully stabilized now. So with the money that he's got tied up in it, you know, if he can't sell it, it just makes it that much harder for him to finish what we want him to finish. So the fact that you still have the order of conditions outstanding, if he does sell it, obviously that's gonna get picked up in the sale of the house. That there's a lien, so to speak, on the house until that order of conditions is released. So a bank is gonna see that, they're gonna say, okay, what needs to be done? We're gonna say, he's gotta finish his paving, this, and they're gonna say, okay, we're gonna withhold some money to cover that, so.
This shows the increased impervious area from the little
Yep,
pullout that they
there
did?
is a
Sorry.
turnaround. Right here, the nearest corner is about 43 feet from the wet area. Less about that, I kind of hemmed and hawed about it. It was something that was done kind of on the spur of the moment when the pavers were going in to do the base course. But when I went and looked at it, if somebody pulls into the driveway at lot 12 and they try to back out, my feeling is by having that pavement there, what it's gonna do, it's gonna protect people from backing off the edge of the roadway, trying to turn around, and probably doing more damage in an area that would cause erosion problems. We can solve it with this, and with the detention area right behind it,
Is there gonna
it's
be-
easily gonna pick that
Is there
runoff.
gonna be a guardrail there to keep them?
Well, we could add that, we could add something to, maybe a couple of boulders or something, just as a, but with the detention area right behind it and it's surrounded by riprap, I thought, well, it's not really a runoff. And if it wasn't there, I could see people
Well,
backing
that's why I'm
onto
saying
the.
it needs to be almost something, a bumper stop.
Right, yep.
And especially that driveway is kind of steep coming down out of there if it was icy.
Yeah, I suppose if it were icy, they would appreciate something that kept them from going down in the detention area.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think there'd be any issue with that.
I mean, if we had a really heavy rain, do you think the freshly seeded areas will hold up? Is there something, is there hay or something
It's a
stabilizing
fairly,
these freshly-
yeah, it's a fairly gradual slope in the swale. You know, we thought about, should we put some sort of stone riprap down the center of it? We could do that, but if we do that, then it's never gonna be grass. It was intended to be some filtering. I think it's just a situation where we're gonna have to watch it and see if it does need some repair. Unfortunately, this is really difficult weather to grow grass.
Right.
And so I think probably a good idea, now that you mentioned that, I just probably, maybe we should throw a couple of hay bales as check dams, just to help save what we can.
Yeah, or walls.
A lot of it is riprap as you come around here, that turnaround, but in this section here, that's where we want the grass swales, so maybe a couple of check dams there.
Yeah, I mean, anything you do to be preventative, to help
Right.
washouts.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it saves them from having to do as much work.
Yeah, exactly.
If they stick those in there, so it's a win-win.
All right, well, I'll move to.
It wasn't on the agenda. I don't think we can vote.
Oh, it's not even really a vote, it's just guidance to me.
Giving Amy her best judgment as to when to issue it.
Oh.
With Roland, I mean, that's the, we just need the assurance that this whole mess is gonna be cleaned up. And it's been going on and on and on.
Have you been able to confirm that that detention basin is built to what the specs were for the capacity, or overbuilt?
Yeah, it's at least to it. I asked for, that's one of the things I want them to update it with, is kind of delineate the limits of it. They sent me their point file of where they actually took the points, the surveyors, and so they'll be playing connected dot with those points. But when I measured those out, it was at least as big, if not a little bigger than what we had asked for. You know, I feel good about that now. And you're right, it's been a long time coming. I've been here many more times than I should be. But I'd like to believe that, you know, when we do come in, we bring some positive news that we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And when we do come in, we're making progress, not at the rate we would like, but at least we're not going backwards.
And are you working on the other part, on the other side of the cul-de-sac there, or you?
Right, that's the what we call the bridge work, which is fixing the bridge. It appears that there is some structural issues. Do you want to keep a copy of this, Trav?
Yes, please, thank you.
There's also a wetland replication that goes with that order of conditions. I'm not working directly on that. The owner has hired another contractor, a local contractor that I guess is very familiar with Littleton. I don't know him, but
Colby or
yeah,
Ducharme Dillis is the.
Well, they're both.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Colby said, for this bridge, these are the people I would work with, I worked with before. So he's hired Ducharme and Dillis initially for the bridge work, and when the wetland replication issue came up, that was added to their contract because it was part of the same order of conditions. So what I've done is I've communicated numerous times with the owner and his attorney, just outlining that you have a deadline, that you really want something by Wednesday to show progress. I know a contract was signed with Ducharme and Dillis. I know that much was done, but I'm not involved in the day-to-day conversations where they're at.
That
So,
seems to be the issue with this whole project, that it keeps bouncing from one engineer to another. I mean, it's been going on and on and on.
right. All I can say is, you know, he's taken the steps to
Okay.
get that work done. You know, the bridge work is beyond my expertise, like the retaining walls, so, you know, he's got a contractor that he was told deals with that. That contractor said, this is who I like to work with as far as the engineering part of it. And then the wetland replication kind of get pushed into it, but they do that too, so I'm hopeful, and I'll tell you right now, all I can do is be the messenger, and I will continue to be that and let them know what the deadlines are as I know them, but it's up to them to make good on it.
So Amy, what are your just the feelings? Would you think it's time to release at least the occupancy permit, or do you think it's something you wanna hold on to for a little while? Cause you're gonna be away on vacation in another week, aren't you?
Yes, I don't care. I mean, I think there's enough left on the table that releasing this one is not given up, and certainly we'll be watching.
So you'd probably wanna go out and check them and verify that everything he says has been done, just
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
give Roland the go-ahead.
You're right, and my game plan would be to get you a finished as-built plan with a little bit more information that tightens up.
Yes, yeah.
You know, what's there. So, just for your files and for your knowledge, you'll have
Well,
that
it
by
seems like
Wednesday at the latest.
unfortunately, it seems that's the only way we end up with stuff right now. So. I think
So
we're-
concur that I can go ahead and sign off the occupancy return if it was in fact did what they said they did.
Yeah. I think so.
They had also asked for 2 extension permits, one for 204-649, which was the original subdivision road, which actually would have expired in June 21st of 2017. But really, I think it's just waiting for binder or whatever the final, it just, a certificate of compliance was never issued on it. So they would like an extension on that one, as well as an extension on 204-650, which is the bridge, the Chestnut Lane extension, which is the private way.
Seems like we're kind of locked into giving the extension so that can go ahead with the work to finish
Yeah.
it up. How many, a
And
year
so
or
at
2
least
years?
the order of conditions will be live, if you will, and
So what kind of a time frame would you recommend, 2 years?
well,
Cause you gotta cover 17 moving forward, which would be, what, 18, which is half over?
well, they say, the extension date can be no more than 3 years from the expiration date. So for the subdivision road, that's just gonna work out to a year extension, basically. And then for the bridge, it would be June 2020. And then if they need longer, they'd have to come back in for another extension in the appropriate time frame.
Right. All right, let's do that.
So-
1 year for one part.
Somebody gonna make a motion?
So it'd be for 204-649, it would be extending it till July 13th, 2019.
Are we supposed to make a motion if it's not on the agenda?
It is, it's up under the top part
It's
of
up
it.
at the top.
Discussion.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Okay. Okay, oh, we're back there, all right. All right, I'll make a motion to issue or accept the request for extension for, let's see, was that 1 year for 204-649?
Yeah, it would be extending it to July 13th, 2019. If that-
Okay, July 13th, 2019. And the other one?
That would be for 204-650 to extend it to June 21st, 2020.
21st, 2020, okay. So for 204-649, extended to July 15th? or-
13th.
Oh, 13th, can't read my own writing, 2019. And for the 204-650, extend to the 21st of July? June. Sorry, June. 2020.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And this isn't even your project.
I don't know what I'll do when this
Yeah,
is
I told him,
over.
I told him to hear about the other ones that he wasn't here for, but there's the other one. He's back.
I was just hoping, you guys to close the meeting, I was just hoping for 2 minutes of your time to understand a small portion of what happened today with the storm management water thing. Just had a little question about it.
Okay.
Is that okay with you guys?
All right.
As long as we keep it to
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2
Yeah,
minutes.
Really simple.
How about
turn
to
it
fall
to 20
asleep?
minutes.
2 minutes.
Well, trouble is, we go overtime, we have to pay extra.
Okay. Put it on my bill.
What's overtime?
11 o'clock.
11?
Right?
Am I to understand that under the storm management rules and regulations, that we actually are doing the calculations only for the portion of the driveway and the roof that are in the 100-foot buffer? Okay.
No.
Yes, that's what, is that right?
No,
Oh.
it says, all activities, must demonstrate compliance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards for all stormwater originating from the portions of the project subject to the commission's jurisdiction or discharging from the project into areas subject to protection or the buffer zone. That's the first paragraph there.
Okay.
Okay, so
All
what,
right.
what does that mean? And say, that's where we're confused, I think.
So if the driveway is discharging into the buffer
Into
zone.
The buffer zone.
So
Or
if
this
I-
is going into the buffer zone.
So if I just take the 10,000 square feet of water that we're flowing down here,
Uh-huh.
and I go past that tension and just let it run wild, then all I'm doing is the storm management on this section that could go into that retention pond. I'm just redoing the calcs and making that big enough for this portion. If I just run this little swale right past it and down into that pipe and rock and stone. Because there's nothing, right, am I
But
understanding
it's
that
still
right?
going into the 100.
It's still going, I mean, the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over runoff from basically an upland area into jurisdictional areas.
Okay, so you want the storm management to include all the, from here?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it would have to.
Because that would make that retention pond like gigantic.
Wait, I thought it was already receiving water
It's
from
taking
there.
this, the roof.
It just wasn't really sized in accordance with DEP standards.
Right, it's size with
Is that-
your standards, with the, whatever you guys said earlier.
With the planning board standards, you mean, or?
No, with your town, it's not Massachusetts stormwater rules, it was the other set of rules. Town of Littleton, yeah, I don't know the technical name for it, but.
The bylaws.
I'll probably
I think it's a separate stormwater
I'll
bylaw.
get shot for what I'm gonna say. You've got a whole wetland just over the knoll behind you.
The isolated wetland, you mean?
No, down here.
Oh.
So why can't, if it just flowed right through to an existing wetland? Even though I don't want the water down on my property, which is down below it, but,
But that's
Well,
still,
it's-
That's
still
true for
going
any
to our
stormwater
jurisdiction.
runoff.
huh?
That's true for any stormwater runoff.
It's, yeah, I don't think it's
Can
salting.
he pipe the roof water directly to that?
Well, it's all going to the same place, isn't it? I mean, isn't that?
Yeah, but he's not
that's what he's
putting
doing?
it in here. You'd take it and just put gutters on and put the water down over the hill.
But that's the whole reason for the stormwater regulations to begin with, is so that stormwater does not discharge directly to a wetland and overwhelm the wetland by all the little various incursions through the watershed. So that it's controlled above the wetland, so that the net peak inflows or outflows off the property do not change.
But it's still on his property. That wetland is on his property, I believe.
Well, eventually it goes off the property.
Yeah, but over the hill, what I'm talking is the wetland behind the field that's down over the knoll is all still on his property between there and the tracks.
Correct.
But it's still discharging from the project area to areas within our jurisdiction. So I don't think it solves anything to go. to
Check
the
with Jude, because the standard is no net increase at the discharge point, which I believe can be the property line, I'm not sure. In which case, you do get the whole watershed.
So
to be considered in terms of you're a very small piece of the watershed at your property line. I'm just not, I'm not an engineer, I'm not that familiar with the stormwater regs, so that's
I'm totally agreeing to this. So the property's already going like this, pitching down and down that little rock wall. So do we take those calculations and then just add just my roof and my driveway? What am I actually?
Anything that's flowing into our jurisdiction, so it looks like.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I mean,
There's-
are you counting all the grass that's already there? Does that go into the stormwater?
well, it's the net, it's gonna be the net increase.
So there is no
it's-
increase if
it's grass to grass, then.
So it's really just the roofs.
The paved,
and
the impervious.
And the paved.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's a gravel driveway doesn't mean anything to you guys.
It will make a difference to how much runoff is coming off of it.
Okay.
So it'll make a difference in their
So if I put a
calculations.
grass strip down the middle, that would help?
Yeah.
That would be better. Okay. All right, thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you for.
I've spent so much money
Thank you
engineering, I don't want to do
for-
the wrong thing again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Me too.
Okay.
Is there anything else? It seems you're gonna be disappearing.
Unless you wanna talk about the bylaw regulations. Well, now you see.
Although it's very applicable
This one I
to
have.
what we just did.
I have like 5 or 6 examples, and that was almost the poster child for one of them.
Yeah.
So,
That was a poster child.
yeah.
Yeah.
As was kind of Workers' Credit Union
We
and
have to
partly.
play- Yeah, we can't just, can't
So
give
right
out.
now, it's, in my mind, a bright line. But,
Wait, you mean the way the regs are
The way the
currently?
regs are written.
Yes, the way the regs are written.
yeah. You can.
Yeah.
And I think, Carl needs to swear in, if you haven't.
Didn't I?
Oh,
shoot, I didn't go
What'd you
there.
do? The last week or so,
I
she
was
said
gonna-
you didn't.
Yeah, I was gonna go on Friday.
But
No,
didn't
I
go.
have to resign from historical commission, but
Yeah.
in saying that, I was like, oh, this one, but.
I was gonna go last Friday and I completely forgot to go.
I just happened to notice on the webpage that your date hadn't changed, and she said, oh, because he hadn't sworn in, so.
Do I need to give anyone my
Yeah, but
votes
what's
if
your
I completed
votes
the conflict of
were in
interest?
the
I'm just holding on to it.
That would go back to.
That's pretty
Oh,
funny.
And
I just-
Patty and Corey, were you sworn? I don't-
Okay.
I don't
Wait,
know
are
if
we
you
adjourning?
really
I did
need to-
everything. Everything's
I
done.
thought that once you've been appointed for a number of years.
Oh, how about
You
signing
can't-
You have to
things?
swear
You
in
haven't
every time.
resigned.
No, but you have to swear in every time, every time.
Yeah, but
Every
it's
turn.
That was the
still
151
kinda-
Taylor Stormwater Review?
Right
It's
in
a
there.
gray, kind of a gray area, because he hasn't resigned off the board.
No, but he still has to resign, he still
Yeah,
has
I
to
know.
All right, that was my bad.
re-swear.
Whoa, that's a hefty one.
But the applicant paid for it.
Could the associate member take on a voting role while Sarah's not here?
I tried that.
Oh, we talked about that last time.
Yeah, I did, just in general. Water bill for the gardens, one for
I
two
don't think
different
I'm ready to
gardens.
vote yet.
Oh, wow.
This is really, thank you
$17.
all for holding the line though. This is really high pressure stuff.
Isn't it?
I was wondering if you'd like to oversee this scout project a little bit.
Ha!
Have we adjourned?
No.
No, but I was wondering if you.
To do what? Just make sure they don't hurt themselves?
I've already got it in the minutes though,
Potential.
so.
But I'm just saying, just to make sure it kind of gets completed,
Yeah?
the way it's designed. If it would be something you'd be interested in kind of being the contact person for the board on it.
All right, it has to be done during the summer?
He's got to have it done before the end of the summer, or he doesn't
You're
get
gonna
it.
have it
These
done
are
by
for
the time
trash
we're at
bags for stupid
18,
invasive species that the highway department's making us pay
September
for.
21st.
Oh, here's the MACC stuff.
You'd like to
$1
oversee it.
each. $1 each bag? That's
We're
expensive.
leaving Friday for vacation. I'll be gone for about a week or so.
Well,
He's
he's not gonna
yeah.
move that fast.
Okay, yeah. So I may or may not.
I'll just,
be here for the
whenever
next
he's in contact and ready to go, I'll just circle you in with stuff, so
Okay.
it shouldn't be too much. Here's the MACC stuff, which I'll figure out later, but if you don't mind signing before I have the final number.
All right to adjourn, Amy? Or you
I
still
am-
gotta be still in motion here?
Nope, I'm done.
So wait, this not 493
Somebody wanna make a motion to adjourn?
is more than.
Ten-
Make a
right?
motion
It was just
to
one.
adjourn.
At 10:45? Can we
Did somebody
get a
second that?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.